Now that the spooky season is over, it's time to wrap up some unfinished business with the Observe and Terminate blogs. Last we checked in, our ragtag team of mercenaries was dealing with not only the walking STD that is Slenderman, but also potential multiverses and hackers galore. Multiple versions of Bazworld 2 are popping up everywhere, someone has taken over Spectre's blog, and now I'm concerned with everyone's sanity in general. That said, let's get right back into it, starting with a rather disastrous post from Spectre on March 3rd.
Sorry for the delay in any updates. On February 28th, Slenderman Division HQ was attacked. At least 8 revenants. Casualties were extremely high. Nightcrawler is still in medical. Most of Bazroil and Night Stalker squads were killed, and several other squads were completely wiped out. All 8 revenants were killed in the attack. Nobody in the science department was touched. This wasn't meant to be a killing blow. This was a warning.
That sounds terrible. Looking at the comments on this post, I noticed an interaction between users Amalgamation Sage and Cynthia.
Howdy there. Consider seeing if you can get a blood sample from Ava. She was given something that let her survive the other side during her kidnapping. Your science department is untouched. If you can recreate the substance used on her, maybe you can take the fight to where the enemy lives. Don't mind me, just a thinking spectator, wink.
The thing is that if they don't mind you, Mr. Seiji, then that means everything you just said should be forgotten. And so it's like your request neither existed. Maybe you should change your last line to, please respond soon. I am a thinking spectator who wishes to help. Wink. That makes more sense, right?
A little from column A, a little from column B. This is the internet. I don't expect anyone to believe a thing I say. For all anyone knows, I'm a Mexican lucha libre moonlighting as an overly analytical and mysterious private investigator who fights evil with a shotgun that shoots kick-me signs at 111 miles per hour. Wow, I wish I was that. That would be awesome. Sadly, I'm not. Whatever I am though, maybe my commentary from the peanut gallery will prove useful. Let's find out. A good girl? How's tall, thin, and spindly treating you these days? Smiley face.
Not sure what Sage means when referring to this Ava person, but I'm going to assume it's related to another Slenderverse blog I haven't stumbled upon just yet. We head over to Spectre's blog for a post from our new friend on March 5th, 2011.
This should be an easy one. What is broken when you speak its name?
The very next day, Spectre posts on the ONT blog to update us on Tom and address the hacking of his personal blog.
Due to heavy losses, we can no longer execute the plan behind our P.I policy. The conduit Tom is still in our custody, never left. Not sure what X is talking about. Experiments are resuming. We are not beaten yet. On another note, our experiments with Tom were leading to some groundbreaking research regarding dimensional boundaries. It might lead to a solution to the multiple B2 problem. Then, we can bring B2 into answer for everything he's done. And of course, at least a few of you have noticed this. Not exactly sure of anything, but I know the account's been accessed. Traced it to 2 separate internet cafes on opposite ends of the United States. Whoever's doing it is either one guy moving quickly or multiple people, and they know the password. Once again, a case of not being hacked. Someone simply knows our password. No signs of the Slenderman's influence in these posts. Seems sort of like someone's pulling a habit with the questions. Not sure what's going on with that, and frankly, I don't much care at the moment. Too much else to deal with. Anyways, we're getting back on track. I've already called for replacements for the men we lost from Central Command. We're moving the HQ somewhere else.
This post only gets more interesting when a commenter named The Shadow responds to this update post over a year later.
You are right about multiple universes having been mixed from the very beginning. They, around 10 or so different universes, were mixed since the creation of the internet, but all of them stayed separate. The current situation is a little different in that there are at least 20 or more universes suddenly merging with each other in random intervals, while the different planes of existence, like the 2 plane in which magic has its home and in which ghosts live, 3 plane in which a bunch of nightmare monsters live, everything higher up is one big mind screw of eldritch abominations and alien geometries humans should never see. In all of those universes, suddenly all move into lower frequencies, and thus everything becomes one big mind-screwing mess that ignores the laws of physics as a whole, likes to screw with time-space, and creates a new messed up version of history every time it happens. If you look at it from that angle, this reality is still pretty intact compared to what it could turn into at any given moment in time. I just had to say that, even though this comment will take 2 years to reach you.
It's kind of interesting seeing these future dialogues that explain bits and pieces of what's going on across the verse. Our friend asks a second question on Spectre's blog, March 7th, 2011.
What can change the nature of a man?
Another post on March 10th tells us the entire Bazroil squad was wiped out in the attack referenced in the March 3rd ONT post, and that Spectre and Nightcrawler relocated once again. Spectre also agrees to answer a few questions for a commenter named Kay, which I found in the comments below.
Long story short, I don't think Zero is dead. I have found some pretty convincing, in my opinion, evidence if you would like to see. Talking to you and Nightcrawler about the solstice seems to be the current best way to try and start confirming whether or not I'm right. 1. Did Nightcrawler actually witness Zero's death? 2. If not him, then who did?
3. What are the chances of that report being incorrect? It appears to have been posted by B2, whom I know you have been having varying issues with when it comes to his sanity and other things, which is 2. 4. Did B2 write it or just post it? 5. Would B2 have had the opportunity to make any changes to it before posting? Again, I fully understand that you may not be able to answer everything. Depending on what the answers to these questions are, I may have more. For now, I'll thank you in advance for whatever information you're able to give me.
These questions are asked in a follow-up post the next day.
Alright, so Nightcrawler and I took a look at the questions Kay was asking. Kay, if you have evidence Zero is alive, forward it to us ASAP. As for your answers, here we go. 1. Nightcrawler didn't have a clear line of sight. The Slender Man was blocking his view. What actually happened to Zero wasn't clear from Nightcrawler's position, but he heard him yell, likely in pain. Didn't sound especially coherent, he says. 2. It's possible one of the other members of Bazrael's squad had a clear line of sight to Zero when the Slender Man attacked him, but they never said a word in the debriefing. Any possible answers died with them or are with B2 as we speak. 3. The answer is that the report is not incorrect. Everything that wasn't redacted is in there. 4. He just posted it. Central Command confirms that the after-action report is on file. Bazrael's squad received a copy of the file, and Nightcrawler says he gave B2 orders to post it. 5. He possibly had the opportunity to edit something, but he was only given a copy, not the actual report. Nothing in there is doctored at all.
Kay responds in a comment linking her own blog post, but I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole right now, so we're just gonna have to not. Our friend asks a third question the very same day.
What will you do when the veil between worlds is pulled back in its entirety?
All goes quiet until a duo of posts from Spectre go up on the O&T boards.
The last week's been rather intensive for the science team. We've made a few breakthroughs and gotten some good results from what they're saying. We're officially done with Tom, by the way. He's opted to head out and we've permitted him to leave. We got what we needed out of him. We can't talk about everything that's been done, but suffice it to say, we've got a few leads on how to deal with B2. We think we've figured out what's up with all of the what the fuckery on this blog and in all of the PTC's activities regarding the Slender Man. Dimensional bleeding, as has been suggested by some of the commenters. The Slender Man has been confirmed to be the source of that dimensional bleeding. We took Tom to the site of the Winter Solstice engagement outside Indianapolis to test a few things regarding the redacted information in the after-action report. Results were disturbing. Basically, the Slender Man's constant pursuit of individual prey over long distances is causing breakdowns in dimensional walls. We can't tell you everything about what happened, but it was, quote, fucked up. We haven't figured out a way to cage the Slender Man in, as we originally expected, but we've gained some valuable insight into how it moves so quickly. As suspected, it's not teleportation. More like dimensional folding. It goes to another dimension, walks around there for a little while, then leaves that dimension. We're going to start working on a way to get to where the Slender Man goes when he decides to go for a multi-dimensional stroll.
The first post was a very long back and forth in the comment section between someone named Reach or Raymond Shaughnessy and Spectre about hijacking Revenants to follow something called the Path of Black Leaves. But that isn't what really caught my attention here. What caught my attention was a seemingly throwaway comment from another commenter named Slice.
We have to roll the dice. An agency? They can't afford to. I trust you people. I've listened to your theories, tested as many as I could myself, but they can't afford to. Yes, they all have evidence, but I don't have direct proof that any of that happened, or that it works the way you say it did, or that you didn't die back then, and you are something else.
Spectre addresses this banter in the second post of the day.
Alright, so tonight's had a bit of a debate going on between some commenters and myself in the comments section of the last post. I just got off the line with Central Command. They're unwilling to send additional squads or any more science personnel to accelerate our research or help with our current objectives, whatever those are. We've been running practically blind for however long, I don't even remember. It's been too crazy lately and days are starting to merge together. I'm running on 17 cups of coffee and I'm practically falling apart from exhaustion. Reliable intelligence is sporadic and I simply don't have enough people on staff to take a valuable individual, plop them in a computer chair and say, read all of these blogs and take notes. We're understaffed because of the Revenant attack, and before that, casualties were trickling in by the hour because of our emphasis on search and destroy operations. And we can't pull some schmuck off the street for it because PTC protocol specifically demands that we don't do that. Central Command's willing to make a rare exception, given our extreme situation and the fact that we've proven to be worth the cost in money and lives by sending some valuable research into dimensional folding/teleportation we've sent their way. It can be repurposed for dealing with other paranormal activity later, and it's considered appropriate to issue a bit of leeway to divisions that perform well in such a capacity. In other words, they're going to let us break a few rules because we've been productive. They're willing to let us work with irregulars again. Intelligence gathering, field operations, whatever. As long as we don't start handing out laser weapons like party favors, they're cool with it. What I need from you guys is regular, up-to-date information, so the Slender Man Division's military department doesn't run around blind. What I'd like you guys to do is decide what you want in return and select a liaison from amongst your own ranks to compile and hand off all of this intelligence to us and keep us updated on happenings regarding irregulars. If this sounds sounds acceptable. Select a liaison and we'll get back to you. I'd like to personally request that you select Reach for the job. He's frank, to the point, and in the know. Perfect for the position, but I'll leave the actual selection up to you guys.
The comment section seems normal, with regulars voting for 2 specific people to be liaisons. However, a post from one of these trusted regular commenters tells us that the Slendy cult goes as far as the FBI, and the final comment from Reach says something even more troubling.
Don't vote for me. My knowledge is compromised. 40 years of fake memories. Revenants are BS. It's all coming back now.
A final post from our friend is uploaded on Spectre's blog the very next day.
For showing initiative, you won the first question. For showing wisdom, you won the second question. For showing initiative, K won the third question. For winning the majority of the questions, you may ask me 3 of your own. I will answer to the best of my ability. Do not dawdle.
Here's the awarded line of questioning between Hakure, Ryu, and our friend.
Question 1. What was Zero's activity during and after the night of the winter 2010 solstice? I will have to insist that you answer my questions individually. Further questions may depend on the answers to the first. Thank you.
Very smart to ask your questions one at a time. I apologize for the wait. I was delayed. Zero's activity during and after the solstice were the subject of much debate among myself and my kind. Suffice it to say, it was interesting. The dimensional bleeding that has allowed me to contact you has created many outcomes of the events that night. But every time we review the indisputable facts of the battle, it becomes muddled, confusing. In short, I cannot answer your question, and for this, I have sinned.
Your assurance as to whether or not your inability to answer my question will result in my gaining a replacement question would be greatly appreciated. The proceeding was, by the way, not a question. For now though, question 2. What is Red Light's true purpose?
There will be no replacement questions. I apologize. Red Light's true purpose is unknown to me, though I suspect he lacks such knowledge himself. My suspicions lead me to believe he desires a purpose, rather than has one.
Okay, I debated a lot on my final question, but I think I'm satisfied enough with the implications of things to ask what's more important, even if there's a good chance you don't know this either. I really hope you do though. Question 3. How might a cure for the Slenderman's proxies/agents be created or obtained?
It has been created. The acid used by the so-called sage who experimented in such matters. The one in contact with the one called Shan. The acid has worked. There will be more details regarding this information in his log. I apologize. I can be of no further help at this moment. I will contact you again soon, but I must warn you, the barriers that denied me the chance to speak will grow stronger, then weaker again as time passes. The time between the weakness and strength is growing shorter. In time, the veil will be pulled back forever, and the Tall One will be more dangerous than ever. I will do what I can, but my information regarding the Tall One's worldly activities is limited. You are asking the wrong questions.
That was something, to say the least. Spectre does another double post on March 20th, 2011, with the first addressing that weird comment from Reach.
Reach's memories falsified. Never saw this coming. Reach, Revenants absolutely cannot be a load of crap. I washed off a coworker's brain in the shower after that Revenant attack on our HQ. They can't be fake because we've fought and killed them before on numerous occasions. At least 10 by this point, albeit with heavy losses. That's how we know they exist for certain, the casualties. You can't take a look at the mess those things made and then declare that they don't exist. There has to be some degree of truth to your false memories, or maybe it's just the dimensional bleeding at work on levels we never thought of before, in which case, the problem's getting worse. On the matter of the SMD, Slenderman Division, he's a regular liaison. It seems Scott is a better choice than Reach, contrary to my original expectations. Scott, you're near Indianapolis. We'll send a couple of teams to pick you up and run interference in the event of an indoctrinated attack. I want you in safe hands here at the SMD's new HQ. To solidify the deal, I've been authorized to give you a small stipend as payment for your services in this capacity, although I doubt you needed the encouragement. You are not to have access to the labs here, but will be able to advise our science department on specific matters regarding the Slender Man. On the subject of the science team, we're looking at the data now, and it's been confirmed. We have a chance at entering the path of black leaves without any kind of assistance from the Slender Man himself. The implications are either very unpleasant or a good sign. We'll keep you updated. Scott, our teams will link up with you soon. I expect to meet you in person shortly.
The second post references an Angora chat that I have no knowledge of, but is apparently bringing together multiple parts of the Slenderverse in some way. The very next day, Spectre tells us that they met with Scott, and he's with them in HQ. And by met, I mean they kidnapped him. An update on the path of black leaves is posted March 22nd.
Alright, so I've put up a poll. I'll explain the purpose behind it. Regardless of Reach's claims of insanity, we have confirmation that data we obtained through the assistance of a conduit has helped us gain access to the path of black leaves. We might be able to launch a preliminary scouting expedition into this little pocket dimension. Slendy calls home for a test drive after the science team figures out how to actually get it working. They say it won't take too long. We've got data, so we're using it. On another note, B2 has been spotted recently. I want to try and bring him in again. Maybe, with the confirmation of dimensional weirdness on our end, he'll be cooperative. If he's not, we can still give it a shot. However, we don't have the numbers or the resources to try and launch the expedition at the same time. B2 can't get away if we throw everything we have at him, and if the expedition heads into the path at the same time, they wouldn't have the numbers they'd need to take him in. So, for the purposes of coordinating with irregulars as I promised, I've put up a poll. Your recommendation is meaningful here. We can go after B2, or we can launch a preliminary expedition into the path. Anything more than that, and we wouldn't have the personnel we'd need to hold down the fort in case of trouble. P.S. To all PTC personnel who actually read this blog, I made it fecking clear not to mess with the new arrival. Failure to comply with this directive will be met with pay cuts and reports back to Central Command about disorderly conduct. I made this abundantly clear during the announcements on the intercom just this morning before breakfast. I've had 3 reports from anonymous tipsters that people were gearing up to mess with Scott already. And could someone please explain what Frank was planning to do with that jar of peanut butter?
Scott also gives us an interesting tidbit about this in the comments.
Well, shoot. Which reminds me, Spectre, I've still got my Glock on me. Do you want me to hold on to that, or do you want me to turn it over to you? As for the Path of the Black Leaves, I would not recommend an attempt to enter there just yet. When Robert went into the Path of the Black Leaves to rescue Reach, he came out severely injured and went crazy again. Also, when Jeff and Cheska went through the path, they were ambushed by the Revenants. Until a way can be found to shield the effects of the path from travelers, I would not yet recommend an attempt to enter the path. I'll vote for finding B2. It could explain other things that are going on and perhaps give a solution to the problem that I had mentioned.
Again, I'm not digging too deep into outside blogs or I'd never finish this video. On the 23rd, Spectre informs us that he has heeded the advice of regular commenters and has shifted the primary objective to finding B2. We don't have to wait long because we find out just how well that turned out the very next day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nightcrawler done fecking goofed. We had him. We fecking had B2, or at least one of him. We had him. There were no signs of any more of B2's copies or anything, but we had at least one of him. Then Nightcrawler kills him. We have no idea what kind of impact this will have on other B2s, but we know that any chances of an answer at this moment have been destroyed. I'm reporting this to Central Command and demanding a new field commander. Nightcrawler's gone against orders too many times. The task force is returning to base now. I am not happy.
This justifiably gets Nightcrawler detained. Spectre finally wanders upon the Q&A going on in the comment section of his personal blog and responds to it on March 26th.
Alright, so I fell asleep earlier in the day than usual, just trying to catch up on sleep. Woke up just now and can't get back to sleep. Reading through the comments of the previous blog post, I can safely say, yes, I can read my personal blog just fine. The questions, the comments about the veil being pulled back forever. I want to act like this isn't anything important, but we're all too aware of what's always going on these days to just ignore a heads up like this. So, my thanks to a friend. Not entirely sure who he is or why he's helping us, but he's there. We just need to be careful for the same reasons. We're not entirely sure who he is or why he's helping us. We have no idea what or who we're dealing with. Anyways, Scott, read your recent intelligence report regarding Zero. I never met him. Nightcrawler and Bazroyal Squad had that little honor, but you've made it quite apparent he's a big player in this messed up little chess game. Between that, the electric theorem, which was finally forwarded to the geeks down in the science labs, and your other intelligence reports, I think I made the right call having you brought here. But your irregular oversight program would be impractical. Such a thing was originally attempted with the implementation of the SMD's priority individual policy. We saw how well that one worked out. Between our recent losses to the debatably existent revenants and a shift in leadership among the military department, we won't be able to enact the oversight program anytime in the foreseeable future.
By the 27th, we learn that Nightcrawler is officially out of the picture and that Spectre's team is working to investigate other theories posed by Scott and regular commenters. There's a long back and forth between commenters in the comment section, but we also get another post a year later from The Shadow explaining things further for us again.
I know that probably nobody will read this, but if anyone does, this will at least be of use to them. Magic, as you call it, is not only the advanced science of human thoughts, but also the science of the manipulation of the basic natural energies through willpower. This is the actual foundation of the Tulpa effect. This means that the Tulpa theory, any revenant/conduit powers, magic, and all other possibly thought-based abilities actually work. It just depends on how well the people using them can manipulate energy through willpower and on how strong that willpower is. Of course, it also depends on how many people try to achieve the same thing and if they are working together to do so or not. As an example, even a child can fend off its worst nightmares by creating a mental protective barrier around itself. This barrier is not only made of thoughts, but also the energy of the child's will to find safety / to repel the nightmare, its positive feelings when it thinks that it is safe after having created the barrier, and the actual air movement energy surrounding it, which gets strengthened by the child's aura's energy. In the end, the barrier becomes real and the child is safe. You can call that magic, Tulpa effect, shamanism, or anything you like, because the basic principles always stay the same. You think it works. You unconsciously start to use willpower to make it real. Energy gets manipulated by this thought's energy, and the thought becomes real. The method you use to do that, and how you call it, is irrelevant because it's all just energy manipulation.
The final ONT post for March comes on March 28th, and it is a rather unassuming one, saying things are too quiet with nothing too interesting in the comments section. The last post on Spectre's blog on March 30th, however, is much more interesting.
I've lost my friend. Do you know where he is?
Spectre pops back in on April 2nd to share a private message he received that's trying to be threatening but comes off more hilarious than intimidating.
Subject: the irregular situation is spiraling out of control. Sender: Central Command. 2. Slender Man Division Head Executive. Date: X/XX/11/2312. As of 24 hours ago, PTC intelligence at Central Command has noted that a detachment of FBI agents has been at work in areas you have recently operated in, including Indianapolis. This is an expected security risk. What is unwarranted is the helicopter wreck you left at when you picked up your new irregular liaison. We've dealt with it. What were you thinking, Spectre? That kind of attention is going to completely destroy our activity in the First World. You are growing too close to the irregular population surrounding the Slender Man situation. The larger number of irregulars has resulted in the creation of a small, self-contained intelligence network, which, while a valuable resource, is not worth the public attention your division has risked. As of right now, you are not to go to such lengths to rescue irregulars again. Help them if necessary, but nothing that can be traced back to the PTC. Irregulars are an expendable asset. PTC secrecy, assets, and personnel are not, and the PTC's interests are critical to future operations. We've sunk enough personnel and resources into this division to warrant it being called a waste. Letting Nightcrawler run the show was a mistake, but you are turning out to be almost as bad with this wanton disregard for PTC protocol and operation. This isn't like you. Everything about your performance up until this point has been exemplary, and focused on the objective. It was commendable. You aren't the one who's holding the leash anymore. As of now, Cyclops is watching over you. Further mistakes will not be tolerated. Central Command.
Got this cheery message over a private forum the PTC has for use of relaying orders over our own computer network. PTC Central Command ain't pleased with how I'm running the show, and Cyclops, our new field commander, has been hard at work setting up shop here in SMD's HQ, getting used to what's left of our troops. I have to avoid slippybus from now on. Scott's been hard at work on the next situation report, so nothing new on that front. Hammer of Thor update. Working prototypes been produced. Further updates to follow sometime next week. Also, remember Red Light's laptop. Its files are all password protected, and we've figured out how to crack it. We've taken our cue from the good doctor, or rather, followed PTC protocol and avoided connecting it to our computers out of proper paranoia, and decided to avoid connecting it to any other computers. Our efforts to hack a few of the files have been declared a success. That's all for now. We're looking over the data right now, so we'll get back to you. A lot of the information is bound to be extremely out of date, but it might turn out to be useful. Priority is anything regarding the path of Black Leaves. He has a surprising number of files for someone who's mostly focused on messing with irregulars. If this is even his laptop.
We see Reach is having a moment in the comments too.
You out to pomp Central, CMMNDFUL host bullets do I won't save and you know what you're doing Spectre. You're doing what's ISS necessary and nothing IST more important tan. WeJet will help you assess when.
An entire conversation with this Cyclops is shared in the next post on April 8th.
Spectre, Red Light's laptop's been mostly cracked. So far, just about everything's either information that's been made public through the Irregulars' activities or information we have to keep from them. Scott's being kept in the dark about this one. Thanks for the heads up about the Class 7 seal. Since not even we're going to be seeing it again, everyone on the science team's been taking precautionary measures to make sure the data's preserved and stays in our hands, as per your orders. We're breaking protocol in a big way. I've taken the liberty of copying all of the files we've opened up onto a blank laptop we had lying around before handing over the original to Cyclops for safekeeping until PTC Spec Ops arrive to handle it until they get into lockup down at the box. Hopefully, nobody at Central Command will find out about the data. I like what we're seeing. No sign of any connection to Father Paranoia on this one. Common paranoia iconography is non-existent, and subjective stuff's at a minimum. Red Light's supposed hive mind status is a non-factor just by looking at it. We'll continue sifting through the data to see if anything noteworthy comes up. Goggles. P.S. I found out who that prick was that reprogrammed the vending machines to say, dispensing delicious neurotoxins. It was Manny. Do what you want to him, I'd rather we don't have him executed. We're short on people as it is, and people with Manny's education don't grow on trees. He's a dolt, but he's a valuable dolt.
I've been hearing about a disturbing practice in the military department that's spread to the science department. The PTC has no official funeral proceedings or protocol, as you know. So why the hell have you people been laying corpses out in the gunship docking bay and throwing active hand grenades at them to the tune of taps? I mean, Jesus fecking Christ, people. That's just fecked up. No more PTC funerals. Spectre.
Spectre, Goggles wanted me to send this little heads up along. The Ban Hammer, yes, I'm calling it the Ban Hammer. I don't care about your insistent terminology, is ready for deployment, but because of Cyclops, we might not get a chance. The guy absolutely refuses to let us test it on that one civilian we abducted just for this purpose. Now, we're gonna have to kill him anyway. He's seen way too much. The only other option is to detain the civvy for the time being and test the prototype in the field against the Slender Man himself. But I don't think we're gonna get the shot before our scheduled Path of Black Leaves expedition. Manny, P.S. I'm sorry about the vending machines, alright? Spectre, we've narrowed down the list of potential candidates for the expedition down to 12. As I stated, we want to go with a small 6-man team. We're deciding which unlucky 50% of our slack-jawed Joes get to go and get torn apart in an alien dimension. Cyclops is going along, no matter what. We need a field commander for the operation's military escort. We'll keep you posted. Goggles. P.S. Manny stepped up the vending machine joke instead of reprogramming them back to normal. Now they actually dispense gas from homemade stink bombs. He's slated for the expedition no matter who else is going, so don't worry.
Confirmed. Spectre's hiding details from Central Command regarding the Slenderman case. We'll update as investigation proceeds. Cyclops.
I thought you would like to read these. Where is my friend?
April 11 comes with an update on the plan to explore the Path of Black Leaves with Commander Cyclops and a small team, to which Reach responds in riddles.
A cloud was my mother who floated above. The wind is my father who blows in with love. My son is the cool stream who weaves through the fen. My daughter's the harvest who feeds all the men. My bed is a rainbow. The earth is my grave. Man is the one whom I torment and save. To get to the 4th round of Nocturne's game, you need simply tell me what is my name. And before some smart guy interjects, I'm afraid that Nocturne isn't correct. To figure out this one, you'll have to think more. Once you have this, Scott gets number 4. Nocturne, you people really work fast, but take a break, cause I have to dash. I'll be back soon. Ray just needs a nap. But before I go, let's recap. Answer the first without the book. Answer the second of if you look. Answer the third rain as you see. I wonder what the next riddle will be.
From what other regulars are commenting, it looks like the person using Reach's account in this instance is called Rain. Not totally sure about that, but that's what I'm gonna go with for now. Our updates on what happened comes on April 13th.
Well, that was a disaster. Summary: one guy came back, and there's no sign of the rest of the team. There doesn't seem to have been any significant disaster on their end, and the guy who came back can't remember anything past entering the path. We'll have a more fleshed out report for you sometime tomorrow night. Also, Scott, in the comments for the last post, what are you talking about? The link leads to this blog, but there's no post. I'm not stupid enough to ignore this out of hand. Something's going on.
I want to note that this post has the most responses so far, most of which are regulars trying and failing to solve another Reach riddle. Spectre notifies us of some weird occurrences after Slendy is sighted around the base April 18th.
The science staff's been experiencing some serious computer issues, and we haven't been able to compile the report. That's part of why I haven't posted the expedition footage analysis or after-action report yet, but we may have more serious issues. The Slender Man himself has been sighted on the base by yours truly. I was moved from the bed in my quarters last night and relocated to the cafeteria. No witnesses, but it was noticeable by the base staff after the fact, and I haven't been able to recall anything from the last 2 days. Bottom line, the SMD is relocating. Forgetting about the missing expedition members for right now. No time to worry about them. We'll report status after relocation. Scott, you're coming with us. Any SMD personnel reading this blog, be advised, we're leaving with all assets and personnel on base by tomorrow. No exceptions. If we can't take it with us on the first trip, we're coming back for it. Everything we've got is too valuable.
April 21st tells us how this relocation goes and about a few troubling side effects from the only living Path Expedition party member.
We're running out of places to go and hide. The relocation was successful. No assets were left behind, and everyone's situating themselves again. We're going to try and get onto the path again soon, posting the footage analysis and transcript within the next hour or two. For security purposes, we cannot provide the actual footage. Central Command would be up in arms about it. I'm pushing my luck as it is by posting the transcripts. No word on our missing expedition members, and our sole expeditionary member that actually came back isn't showing any signs of discomfort, mental stress, nightmares, or anything. Pure and simple blank whenever the path comes up. He knows he went in, but can't remember what happened until he came out. I've been feeling kind of paranoid ever since I was moved, but that goes without saying. I need to start using my personal blog again for things not related to PTC business. This one's gotten plenty of traffic. Time to spread the eye-rending horror around.
Though he claims the relocation is successful, the comments under this post say otherwise.
relocation was not successful because you lost Scott. I know you guys have priorities to think about, but you'd think you'd at least notice that one.
Heh, it's not their fault, although I'd love to blame it on them. Let's just say they don't exactly remember what had happened. I believe I'm forgetting something. What is it? Oh yes, that's it. Decoy activate. Head towards their science department, kill as many of their scientists as you can. Spectre, enjoy having a so-called indoctrinated in your new base. Regards.
And by informing them of all this, you accomplish what exactly?
Okay, so apparently our regular liaison is missing. Why the hell am I the only one who's on the ball here? After action report's going to be delayed until tomorrow due to this little detail and some technical issues that shorted out the power while I was transcribing the damn report. Shut up, I'm not lazy.
Things continue to get worse with Spectre's next post on April 23rd. The first of two tells us that classified documents disappeared.
I've checked all of our databanks non-stop for the last 3 hours and contacted Central Command to double-check their own records. Any operations launched by any division go to Central Command. It's completely gone. No sign of it ever having been logged or that the expedition was launched at all. Damn it. Someone really doesn't want us to show that report to you guys. Constant power failures. Every time I tried to post it, the hard copy I had printed off has gone missing, and now this. This is getting crazy, and it's ticking me off.
Because of this, his second post summarizes what was in the report.
Alright, I can remember enough of the important details from the report's hard copy to at least fill you guys in on some things. Cyclops is among those missing, but you knew that. One guy came back from the expedition with no memory and seemed like he was in a hurry when he came back through. Footage analysis had a lot of static and distortion, as is normal when dealing with the Slender Man, but cleared up enough occasionally to allow us to actually see what the cameras we built into the helmets were looking at. The path was disturbing. I'll leave it at that. The team wandered around for a while, keeping each other in line of sight, and eventually found a guy. Looked like a civilian or irregular, and he was wounded. They didn't stay long, because good old Slender Man decided to show up, and the team wisely made a run for it. As soon as the footage cleared up, our sole returner, whatever, he was the guy who came back when everyone else didn't, and I don't want to use the word survivor. He was alone, and found a tree with something carved into it. He didn't get a good look at it, and consequently, we didn't get a good look because something freaked him out and he ran from that tree. He found 2 other guys from the team again and was trying to get back into contact with us at SMDHQ. One of the other 2 guys asked where Cyclops went, and the other one was confused as to who Cyclops was. This confirms the path has an adverse effect on human minds. Most other details are either unimportant or didn't seem important, so I didn't bother committing the whole thing to memory. With my workload, there's only so much one guy can be expected to remember, so the path expedition has been deemed interesting by my superiors. With the recent disappearance of the after-action report, I decided to point out that this isn't exactly normal. PTC protocol has no such policies in place to deal with something supernatural completely deleting data from our computers, and the only other option is someone inside the organization deleting the report. Central Command's treading lightly now. They might start taking us a bit more seriously from now on.
A new commentary that is of importance also pops up in the comments.
Analysis. Upload commencing. Upload complete. Analysis. Subject, PTC SMD. Status, stable. Abilities, fantastic. Emotional status, strong. Threat level, high. Intelligence level, high. Potential, high. Danger, high.
The situation obviously worsens when Nightcrawler returns.
The box is the PTC's top-secret storage facility of prisoners, artifacts, and objects that have been placed under Class 7 seal. Anything connected to any case that has been deemed noteworthy and risky goes to the box. It's where PTC Internal Affairs stashed Red Light's laptop and took Nightcrawler. Think of a maximum security prison where the guards are permitted to simply kill anyone or destroy anything that tries to leave. Class 7 seal is considered extremely classified, even by PTC standards. Nothing leaves the box once it goes in. Only some people have ever even heard about it, and most of those don't know where it is. The ones who know where it is aren't allowed in, except for the people who run the show at Central Command. Nightcrawler broke out last night at 9:45 p.m., killing 17 guards on his way out, and possibly setting some contained creatures or organisms loose, and by all accounts, he had some help getting out. Everyone watch yourselves. I don't doubt Nightcrawler's on the warpath, and he's got friends, whoever they are. They didn't match indoctrinated tactics by the looks of the footage. These guys were trained and armed. We'll see if we're permitted to post a report of what happened during the breakout. Won't get word for another day. Everyone at Central Command is up in arms about it and has their hands full implementing new security protocols for the box already.
The reintegration tablet returns with 2 comments to this post.
Input acknowledged. Response, power failure due to unstable conditions has been fortified against. The possibility of power failure is now unlikely. Any shutdown due to power failure is only very temporary. Addendum, the PTC has received clearance from the reintegration tablet to inform Central Command of its discovery. The reintegration tablet is entering standby for the night. Responses may or may not come. Nightcrawler threat assessment, highly dangerous. Nightcrawler sanity assessment, outwardly unstable, inwardly sane. Warning, hostile presence detected. Proceed with caution.
3 posts are posted the next day as the situation becomes increasingly worse. The first post tells us that Nightcrawler and his cronies stole a metric fuck ton of data from Central Command. The second post details a note directly from Nightcrawler and Spectre's response to it.
Spectre, I don't doubt you and the PTC are already looking for me. I also don't doubt that you thought you'd be able to keep me in that little cage in the box that Internal Affairs had set aside for me. You bastard. You're working for him, aren't you? Only someone working for him would actively avoid the best and most effective method of destroying this creature. I am infallible, and when the best option presents itself, I will take it. You are nothing, and the PTC has shown their true colors. Everyone was working for him from the very beginning. It makes perfect sense. The only logical explanation is that you've been lying, pretending to help everybody when the best option was to simply kill them and deny the creature his sustenance. But you're too much of an asset for him to expose publicly yet, so you'll play ball. By now, you've heard of my attack on Central Command. The data I stole was the main PTC record database. Everything decrypted and copied onto multiple 16GB flash drives. Lots of text and picture files. Here, every little science project we've done, every case of paranormal activity we've ever covered up, the circumstances surrounding our founding, dossiers on every member of every division, witness, irregular, and everyone who's ever funded our efforts, everyone we've ever killed to preserve humanity's innocence, every after-action report, scouting report, records of our moles in the FBI and CIA and other intelligence agencies across the globe, full life histories of every executive and pencil pusher in Central Command. Literally everything. If you even try to come after me, I will leak all of it to the authorities, with evidence to support my claims. I've already made copies and acquired the necessary materials, and I've gotten it all into the proper hands to leak them to the authorities if anything should happen to me. Don't try to follow me. Nightcrawler.
Okay, so Nightcrawler's become a bit unhinged. Needless to say, the PTC isn't one big Slender Man conspiracy. Too convoluted to work. We'll have to let him go. The PTC isn't going to risk full exposure over one rogue operative who's lost his mind. Damn it. Everyone watch yourselves. On the plus side, someone buying dozens of 16GB flash drives would stimulate the computer hardware market. Someone buy stock in computer companies. You'll benefit from Nightcrawler suddenly going off the walls. Insane.
First, want to note the hyperlink in A Bit Unhinged takes you to a TV Tropes page. Not sure why, but it does. RT shows up again in the comments.
Notification: if the stolen data becomes available to the public, the reintegration tablet may be able to hide or otherwise block it from unauthorized viewing. It is impossible to do it in its private state at the current time as the reintegration tablet's abilities are partially blocked.
The final post is from another person we haven't seen in quite some time, B2.
Yeah, it's been a while. Nightcrawler's kind of going into a mental state the PTC's fond of calling totally bat-fucking-sane, and I'm not very comfortable working for a guy who's calling himself the prophet of life and safety right after shooting the 5th indoctrinated we've caught this weekend the head. Plus, he's been looking at me funny today. Can I come hang out with you guys again?
Another RT comment is here as well.
Analysis: upload commencing. Upload complete. Analysis: subject, B2. Status: semi-stable. Abilities: highly competent. Emotional status: strong. Threat level: high. Intelligence level: moderate. Potential: high. Danger: moderate.
Spectre responds to this further in the most unhinged way the very next day.
Spectre here, in this order. Might be getting our hands on the tablet soon. Bonus for us. Something like this isn't unheard of, but we have our hands full right now. It's on the to-do list. No way. BS. I call complete and total BS. You are dead. Dead. Deady McDead. What? Nightcrawler's gone to ground. No clue where he'd be, and the PTC won't risk pursuing him anytime soon. Now that that's out of the way, on to important things. B2's sudden re-emergence. If this is B2, or alternate B2, or B2A, or something besides someone faking it, means we might be getting something resembling valuable intelligence regarding our own problems with the dimensional bleeding. Speaking of which, any more hidden posts here, or on my personal blog? Obviously, I can't see them. Also, due to the sudden appearance of the tablet and the possible advantages any kind of template or construction method may provide to the PTC's efforts elsewhere, we finally got more help. The new members of the science team and additional soldiers will be moving in sometime within the next week on the condition we study and mess with the tablet a bit. This is all in spite of, or perhaps because of, the fact that Nightcrawler's gone totally nuts. He's kind of our fault. He went loony on our watch, but with the whole prophet thing, I can't tell if he got sick of the job and is just kidding around, or actually believes himself to be a prophet of some kind. No sign of Slender Man since I saw him on base a little while ago. We're looking into the path of black leaves again. The rest of the expedition team might still be in there. Not sure if it's such a good idea, but it's our best lead for anything we're doing these days. We're just running around blind half the time, and I need to fix that. The SMD needs to turn this around. It's about results, and we don't have a lot to show for all of our efforts since September of last year. B2, if you're alive, sit tight. We'll find you. You have a lot of explaining to do. I need a drink. It's been a rough few months.
There are 3 links in total in this post. One goes to another blog that I'm not reading here, the second goes to a 404 error, and the third links back to B2's post. Further interactions between Nightcrawler and Spectre are detailed in the April 27th post.
First, the additional support, i.e. replacements, from Central Command showed up slightly ahead of schedule. That alone is pretty major, considering we've been short-handed for a while. Now we need to go through SMD orientation. I give it 2 days before we've suffered a 50% casualty rate because nobody fecking pays attention during the orientation. Second, reintegration tablet get. We'll start poking it with homeless people and nerds and document what happens. You can never be too sure with anything new and unusual. We're not gonna break it open yet. We need to see what it's capable of and get Crowley's permission to do something a bit more stressful. I want to get whatever computer technology this thing uses for Central Command. If it was around in 1987, Crowley was way ahead of the pack as far back as 20 years ago. If all of the hardware down in the tablet's facility in the Canary Islands was around before the turn of the century, we can only imagine what Crowley can do with up-to-date computer hardware. PTC Central Command wants proof that the tablet isn't some kind of joke. We're going to ask him to help us replicate the tablet. Third, we found B2. Needless to say, we're already interviewing him to see what the hell's going on. We're expecting no real new information, but it's worth a shot to see if he knows something we don't by this point. Judging from his earlier comment, he does. Whether or not it's useful is another matter entirely. Fourth, another message from Nightcrawler. I think he's going even more nuts than he already was. Here, take a gander.
Blood, 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 blood.
That was literally the whole message. So, yeah, my guess is Nightcrawler's out for blood, and we can't risk touching him. Everyone watch your backs. If he starts gunning for you, we won't be able to help you out.
Links within are as follows: a blog post I'm not gonna read, a link to another TV Tropes page for Captain Obvious, and a second TV Tropes page for Oh Crap. RT responds to this as well.
Input accepted. Response, clarification, all hard and software for the reintegration tablet has been in existence since 1974. The Wero is finally operational in 1986. The AI for the reintegration tablet was finalized and installed in 1987. Notification, creator Nathaniel Crowley willing to replicate the reintegration tablet.
Spectre gives us a small amount of brevity with this April 28th troll post before B2 gets us right back to the troubling shit in the final post of April.
Hey gang, B2 here. So, you're probably wondering if I'm completely nuts about the walls breaking. The answer's going to take a while, so grab a snack. Basically, the situation with Twiggy being able to pop around almost at will with his dimensional folding thing is causing dimensional barriers to break down. He's mostly at fault on his own, but Zero's plan with the solstice made it way worse. I'm still not allowed to talk about the intricate details of what actually happened because the PTC's got a guy with a gun leveled at my head, but when Twiggy got stabbed, the idea is that time and space sort of warped worse than they already were. Things were already reaching that bleeding over into each other threshold, but the solstice kicked it into overdrive. That's what started the dimensional bleeding in earnest. This probably explains our encounters with revenants shortly afterwards and the conduit we were dealing with during the teleportation experiments. The dimensional bleeding caused us to start interacting with people who weren't inherently from our reality. Reach may have confirmed revenants don't exist, but that's the thing, they don't exist where Reach is. Conduits in that same reality are called into question, but confirmed to exist in other dimensions. Twiggy's ability is giving rise to some serious distortion in more than just footage on numerous levels of oh shoot. The reason I know about this whole thing is because me and Bazaroil's squad were present at the site of the solstice when Zero's plan went down. Nightcrawler was always totally batshit, but I was perfectly fine until dimensions started bleeding over. Information from two versions of me crossed over and sort of broke my brain meats over and over again. Then I saw myself and shit sort of spiraled downward from there. The reason I originally broke off from the PTC was because I needed to confirm what was going on for myself, lost on two paths and all that. I was mostly twisted in the brain until one of the two Nightcrawlers we've got floating around out there killed one of me. That sort of fixed it. I still have full memories from both versions, but the two minds aren't interacting anymore. 1B2, whole and solid. The thing is that Twiggy's ability to do his crazy dimensional crap isn't going to be making anything easier for anybody but him. It seems to be worst for the PTC because, simply put, we've been fiddling with the technical aspect of the whole thing and trying to replicate it this entire time, and actually pulled it off with the Path of Black Leaves expedition. Shit's getting worse, and it isn't going to stop unless we put our heads together and start coming up with a way to fix the problem instead of actually killing Twiggy. That won't fix the dimensional bleeding, which should be our #1 priority right now. That's enough out of me. I'm off to play Portal 2 on the reintegration tablet.
Stimulus accepted. Response, the reintegration tablet calls Atlas.
May begins with Spectre clearly stating that he successfully hacked something, but we don't really know what he hacked until the 3rd.
Spectre here. First, it is with great relief that I am announcing I'll be returning to handling my own personal blog, leaving this one in the hands of B2. He'll be updating here from now on. Now, I don't need to be the bearer of bad news when things go wrong. Second, our tests with the reintegration tablet have been extensive these last few days. We've confirmed it can run software intended for Windows operating systems, as well as at least a few Mac programs. B2 won't let go of the damn thing, but that's more his crippling video game addiction than anything. The science team appreciates the test data either way. Other tests we have in mind involve taking it apart to see how it operates, and eventually seeing if we can't reverse engineer it for more all-purpose uses than reintegration, whatever that is. The tablet and its creator, Nathaniel Crowley, have both proven very cooperative so far. If the tablet can process supernatural activity, then it's very likely that anything based off of it will be able to do the same. That would be a massive boon to the PTC as a whole, and especially the SMD. Third, on the matter of Dr. Cairo Zelphus' disappearance, we're still searching. We'll provide an update on the subject if we find anything at all. We can't devote everything to finding Dr. Zelphus, but we're doing what we can with what we've got. That's generally more than the likes of, say, Zeke Strom or the young men who operate the Everyman Hybrid channel on YouTube, but we're not omniscient. If we can't find him, then we simply can't find him. So, apologies in advance if that turns out to be a massive disappointment. I know some people out there appreciated what the doctor did for the irregular community, and if he turns out to have been indoctrinated the entire time, we'll just line him up against the wall and shoot him. Target dummies for the troops to practice on are expensive, so he'll serve the PTC as a cost-cutting maneuver, if nothing else. We're also trying to track down Benefactor, and there's been no word on that so far. Fourth, on the subject of the Path of Black Leaves, we've been making an effort to try and see if we can't somehow take another shot at an expedition into the path to see if there's any way we can use it. The prospect of a reverse-engineered reintegration tablet is critically important in this capacity. It could make all of the necessary adjustments to our calculations to see if we can't solve this dimensional bleeding issue. We're not even sure if that's possible, but we need to try and see what we can do. Zero may not have intended for the solstice to cause the problems it did, but it's something we need to fix, desperately. If this gets bad enough, there's no telling what will happen. Time can become a hellish nightmare with no beginning or end, but there's also the possibility that the sky will just turn pink and everyone can go about their merry day without any further issues. 2 nights ago, just glancing at the clock on my nightstand, I can tell you that it actually stopped for no good reason and didn't match up with the computer clock. I unplugged it, reset it, checked every other clock we had to see what the time was, and came to the conclusion that everyone's perception of time is off. Clocks all over our current base of operations are showing different times. Now, that's not exactly important on its own, but what really raised the red flag was that nobody was sharing the same perception of time. I've asked around. It's been getting worse whenever someone is alone, but the time discrepancies apparently haven't gone beyond an hour in difference between any two people. Everyone's been given orders to check in every 10 minutes, their time, when they're alone, even if it's just by radio, and more people have been switched to the night shift. I've already been considering bumping the time between each check-in down to 5 minutes, just in case. So, in short, B2's right. Fixing the dimensional bleeding is our top priority at the moment. This clock thing is already getting annoying, and it hasn't been a full week yet. Anyways, that's all for now. The science team's gearing up for another round of tests regarding the path, so I need to at least check in on that. Every time we do something, we probably risk the dimensional bleeding getting worse, so we need to wrap up the bend reality to our will part and just skip to the fix what the Slender Man is doing to the fabric of our realm of existence part.
On May 5th, B2 is brought into the fold and states that he's been brought on as field commander. He gives us an idea of how it's all going in the May 8th post.
Being the new field commander isn't exactly awesome. Lots of boring shit to deal with. Gotta keep briefing the soldiers on how to best kill an indoctrinated, keep drilling them with the new Hammer of Thor weapons, gotta keep signing requisition forms, and on and on and on. It's really, really boring. So even though there's a bit of a dimensional bleeding issue, only the science department's getting assets shifted to working on it. There's only so much that my men can do to deal with the matter. We shoot stuff, and Spectre signs paperwork. In other words, this one's all on the eggheads. We've got a betting pool going to see how long it takes for them to totally feck things up worse than they already are. The clocks seem to have started working normally again. I give it a week before they're back to being all wonky. Could be a sign that the nerds are actually fixing the problem. To keep the troops from going stir-crazy and get them used to killing off indoctrinated, we've gone back to search and destroy operations for the time being, along with scouting missions to try and find Benefactor and Dr. Zelphus like Spectre wants. No word on the reverse engineering of the reintegration tablet. Not my department. Spectre says he'll be updating his own blog later today with some information on that. They've apparently been making some progress, but not enough for us to actually get our own version of the tablet operational. For the return expedition to the Path of Black Leaves we've been planning, we've decided to only send an all-military department team armed with a Hammer of Thor prototype and some laser carbines. I don't want to get our hopes up, but we're running out of wiggle room. We need to take a shot at the bastard.
The same day, Spectre takes control of his personal blog again, to which RT also responds.
It's always such a pleasure. No, I can't get that song out of my head. B2 refuses to stop humming it. Anyways, odd to be using this blog again after doing nothing but running myself ragged keeping the SMD afloat. Nightcrawler going nuts didn't help. It's hard keeping things from totally falling apart these days. B2's presence is welcome, even though he went rogue and shot a bunch of our guys. So, about the tablet. I know a whole bunch of you have been waiting for news. We've got confirmation on some of its inner workings. The damn thing might be a quantum computer. Let me repeat that. It could be a quantum computer. That's a pretty big deal. Anyways, we've taken a look at the thing, and we think we might be able to reverse engineer a less effective version of the tablet for our purposes. Our science team's on it already, split between the dimensional bleeding problem and the reverse engineering program for the tablet. But you knew that already. What you didn't know is that we can get a prototype working sometime within the month by current estimates of cost and barring any serious interruptions for the scientists, such as relocation. This is going to be awesome.
Stimulus accepted. Response: one day she woke me up, so I could live forever. It's such a shame the same will never happen to organics.
And while the personal blog is locked down again, a friend of our friend has made their way to the O&T blog.
Subject: SMD/Central Command Conference. Sender: PTC Central Command Transcript Office. To PTC Transcript Record Databank. Date: May 12, 11, 13:15. Conference 1452 Audio Transcript. Attending: PTC General Marcus Carmack, callsign Orca. PTC Head Executive Omar Carlisle, callsign Drumroll. PTC Head Scientist Dale Elb, callsign Venom. PTC Head of Internal Affairs, redacted, callsign Knight. SMD Head Executive Kyle Leonard, callsign Spectre.
Gentlemen, I believe you know why I called this conference.
Leonard, our decision is final. Central Command absolutely will not permit the Slenderman division to continue reverse engineering this reintegration tablet alone.
I am aware and cannot permit you to take it into Central Command's custody. It is absolutely vital that the tablet remain in the SMD's control. Information on the Slenderman could come from this device and may finally permit the SMD to deal with the creature once and for all.
Leonard, with all due respect, your division has shown multiple attempts at killing the creature with a 0% success rate. Your scientists should be focused entirely on the elimination of the Slender Man. My science team here at Central Command can deal with the matter. You're in no position to deny us access to the tablet.
So that's your plan? Take a valuable asset from the SMD. The SMD is becoming high priority. You've all said as much. We're permitted certain assets denied to other divisions. I believe that includes the reintegration tablet.
That may be, but you have proven to have a problem with dissent in the ranks multiple times. We can't permit the tablet to fall into rogue hands. Turn it over to our control, or we'll see to it that your division receives no further support.
That isn't your jurisdiction, Knight.
It's my jurisdiction, Knight. Further attempts to undermine my authority will not be tolerated. The SMD will receive additional support as the situation warrants. That is PTC policy and will not change at the whim of internal affairs.
Do not presume to threaten me, Carlisle. I don't answer to you.
Connection cut.
Knight's getting bolder.
He is. About this tablet, I'm not sure leaving it in your hands is the safest option for the device. You have to understand, Kyle, this dimensional bleeding, it might not stop, and it seems to be centered on your division. We can't risk losing the tablet because we didn't move it sooner.
Omar, I'm telling you, this isn't going to be a problem. We're fixing the bleeding now.
How can you be so sure?
Just trust me, alright?
How can we? All you've done this entire time is present multiple failures, despite miscellaneous advances in scientific aspects of the paranormal. We've been putting your data to work, but your primary mission has shown minimal success. How do we know you haven't been squandering your resources to simply bleed us dry?
Bleed you dry? Are you insinuating that I'm indoctrinated?
The Proxies are a subversive group. You know that. You could be operating under the Slenderman's control on a purely subconscious level, and the constant use of that blog Arthur made, which you should have shut down, is a major breach of PTC policy in and of itself. We've given you a lot of leeway, and evidence has been piling up that you might not be operating within PTC policy any further.
Do not say that I've been compromised. I am not indoctrinated.
I see, Leonard. I want this made very clear. We can do better with the tablet than you can. By rights, you should pass it over to us.
And if I refuse, your little council will just use it as ammo against me, right? Get me reassigned or locked up in the box.
You're being paranoid, Leonard, and perhaps a bit obsessive. That's a dangerous sign.
My fears are well-founded.
Leonard, if it really means that much to you, we'll permit you to keep the tablet. But absolutely anything related to the creation of the patch is to be handed off to Central Command as priority traffic.
Acceptable.
Are we done here?
No, there's still the matter of Arthur Nile.
Leonard, he got a lot of PTC intelligence into the wrong hands. We can't possibly track down all of his contacts. Nightcrawler is untouchable.
Is he really?
You're proposing a solution to Nightcrawler's rampage?
Don't entertain his ideas any further. Spectre's proven time and again that he can't be permitted.
Be very careful of the next words that you say, Elb. It would make things far more difficult for the both of us.
Is that a threat, Leonard?
Yes.
You're in no position to threaten me. I'm
a beaker slinger with an oversized budget and a gun at his back.
You don't get to make demands, Spectre.
Yes, I do. I've got the tablet, and I'm the head of a high-priority division, and we have a psychotic PTC agent on the loose. He's my mess, and I intend to deal with him. Nightcrawler will be killed. I'm proposing the first task we use the patch for is hunting down Nightcrawler and his contacts that he has passed classified PTC information to.
I see. The patch would be able to sift through meaningless data, calculate probability of who's got what information. Then,
we use that information to track down and kill all of Nightcrawler's contacts at the same time, before anyone can pass it along that we're after him.
Brilliant in its simplicity, isn't it? This is why I'm requesting additional scientists for my division to speed the reverse engineering process of the reintegration tablet. We'll settle for the core systems. It should be more than sufficient for the shakedown run.
I'll send out a memo for volunteers.
Our business is concluded, gentlemen.
We can't permit Leonard to strong-arm us like this. We're the heads of Central Command.
Leonard's always been focused on what he thinks is the correct course of action. Thank God he didn't go insane like Nile.
Has he been compromised? Do we need to send in internal affairs?
Absolutely not. Knight will not take charge here. We took a risk permitting him to send in Cyclops.
What risk? We already told Spectre as much just now. We suspect he's indoctrinated, if only on a small level. This Slender Man creature has been conducting limited activity within a specific sphere of influence, and we've been throwing lives and money and time at the problem until it stops. It's not stopping. I'm recommending we shut down the Slender Man division once and for all. It's gotten us valuable assets, but we need to cut expenses now.
That is my jurisdiction, El. I will deal with the matter as I see fit.
At least give it a thought, Carlisle.
I will, El. Everything is spiraling out of control, but we can get our hands on the steering wheel and pull the PTC back from the brink. The key lies in ensuring the Slenderman division can generate enough gains for all of the losses it's brought us.
And Nightcrawler?
Leonard's absolutely right on that course of action. The plan proceeds.
I'd say this concludes our business then.
Yes, I believe so. Marcus, meet down in the bar for drinks. I have an idea for a new standardized firearm to issue to the troops.
Connection cut. Connection cut.
Stacy, bring me that map you drew for Daddy. Oh, this thing's still on.
Connection cut. End transcript.
They are on the right path. My friend will help them seal the veil. It won't stop the faceless one, but it will set things right.
Nobody from the Slenderman division responded to this horrifying revelation, and I can't begin to understand why. B2 pops back in again on the 18th to tell us that another mission into the path would be taking place.
Alright, so my first official act as field commander of the SMD is sending an all-military department strike team into the path of Black Leaves. They've been deployed as of 2 hours ago. Helmet cam feeds have all cut out, but according to Spectre and the nerds, they did that last time. Best of luck to them. They're taking a shot at that slim bastard. If they're lucky, they'll find the other team too. We're going to make sure to get a full after-action report from whatever fragments of information come out of the survivors and video footage. Spectre's also posted a heads up about our soon-to-be computer buddy, The Patch. Check his blog for any further details, like what Patch stands for. Off to go get drunk now.
An odd poem is placed in the comments by an anonymous person, and the shadow pops up again to comment on it.
Hold your grandmother's Bible to your breast. Gonna put it to the test. You want it to be blessed. And in your heart, you know it to be true. You know what you gotta do. They all depend on you, and you already know. Yeah, you already know how this will end. There is no escape. From the Slave Catchers songs, for all of the loved ones gone, forever's not so long, and in your soul, they poked a million holes, but you never let them show. Come on, it's time to go, and you already know. Yeah, you already know how this will end.
I have to say, Nocturne, Reach, and Alone Among the Wreck were very good poets.
Spectre also posts about this on his own personal blog the same day.
Alright, so, it's been a while since our last update here, but I figured this warrants a bit of an announcement. We've been hard at work and have finally come up with what can very loosely be called a prototype for an alpha version of the patch, the Paranormal Termination Consortium Helper. We anticipate initial activation sometime tomorrow, but we have the hardware specs Crowley said we'd need, and we think most of the software that he's helped us code is going to work, but we're still not quite sure how all this crap works from the ground up. Chances of it not crashing right at the start are absolutely minimal. We still need to fine-tune everything, but we're testing it where we can as we go. If everything works out, we should be able to push the full version into service by this time next week. In the meantime, B2 has been laying the groundwork for another operation in the path. We anticipate deployment tonight and an after-action report by Friday or Saturday.
The comment section for this one is rather odd to say the least.
Green to green, red to red, all is well. Go ahead. When in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Nobody knows I'm here. That's a lie. Obviously someone does. But I'm not going to tell you who. Let's see what we can find in this computer. These PTC firewalls aren't worth anything. The computer itself isn't too hard to crack either. Sincerely, more or less. What?
Trixie Bunny, you've got a free question. Specs, ask and I shall answer. What?
Really, Kyle? That's what you're calling it?
How the feck do you know my name, Killj?
This comment has been removed by the author.
I am a magical oracle from another dimension. I also know the names of the PTC General, Head Executive, and Head Scientist thanks to my prophetic amazingness. Remember that guy who was looking for his friend? He felt like putting up the transcript of Conference 1452. From the looks of it, you're in the barrel. Don't worry though, I don't think you're a proxy.
And so the false oracle did speak the name of the blasphemer, and incite a rage which drove his underlings to fear.
On the bright side, we do learn the very next day that this mission went a hell of a lot better than the last, and B2 gives us a full after-action report on the 20th.
Date, May 18, 2011. Time, 14:30 to 15:43 hours, SMD HQ time. Location, classified. Operation Headhunter's primary objective was an attempted elimination of Target Alpha in what is believed to be Target Alpha's primary base of operations, referred to in various intelligence reports and in the irregular community as the Path of Black Leaves. Secondary objectives included locating and rescuing surviving members of the previous expedition into the Path of Black Leaves if any such individuals existed. An all-volunteer unit was selected for Operation Headhunter. Rather than assign a specific squad, PTC operatives were selected from 4 different units and deployed as a single team into the Path of Black Leaves. This unit was designated Headhunter Squad for the purposes of the operation. Headhunters 1 through 5 were outfitted with light body armor and the newly upgraded Type 5 multi-barreled laser carbine S, while Headhunter 6 was given a suit of heavy body armor and the Type 21 electrified melee weapon, designation, Hammer of Thor prototype. The operation was intended to be a combat mission, as well as a field test of the new design. All members of Headhunter Squad were given helmet cams for the purposes of analysis of combat footage at SMD HQ. Upon entering the Path of Black Leaves, Headhunter Squad began a sweep of their immediate area. After no sign of hostile contact, Headhunter 1 took point. Navigation software loaded into the squad's helmets was ineffective in the Path of Black Leaves, with no clear direction that led north. This indicates severe magnetic interference, or some as yet unknown effects stemming from Target Alpha's influence on his immediate environment. Opting to take a randomly selected direction for an extended sweep, Headhunter Squad did not encounter any hostile contact for 10 minutes. Video footage of the operation contains heavy audio and video distortion, as is normal when dealing with Target Alpha, or objects, persons, or areas related to Target Alpha. No transcripts have been provided, but at 1500 hours SMD HQ time, Headhunter Squad confirmed contact with Target Alpha. Headhunters 1 through 5 opened fire, shooting to kill. Multiple head and torso shots were confirmed with laser carbines, while Headhunter 6 attempted to flank and attack with the Hammer of Thor. Target Alpha engaged Headhunter 6 in close combat, managing to evade the Hammer of Thor, suspected to be highly dangerous to Target Alpha. Target Alpha succeeded in neutralizing Headhunter 6 while under direct fire from the rest of Headhunter Squad, and fell back quickly after throwing Headhunter 6 at the rest of the squad. The Hammer of Thor was damaged, and rendered useless for the rest of the operation as a result. It is presently undergoing repairs by the SMD's Science Department. Headhunter Squad gave pursuit, and lost track of Target Alpha. Target Alpha re-engaged Headhunter Squad with a flanking maneuver, hitting them from the left and almost managing to pierce Headhunter 3's left arm. Headhunter 3 engaged Target Alpha directly in hand-to-hand combat, while the rest of the squad prepared to hit Target Alpha with concentrated fire. Throwing Headhunter 3 off, Target Alpha made a second attempt at what was believed to be a false retreat. Headhunter 1 called for the squad to disengage, and Headhunter Squad was back at SMD HQ within the hour. Combat footage analysis indicates Target Alpha is not slow or sluggish when the situation is believed to require rapid movement, such as in the case of Target Alpha's hand-to-hand engagement with Headhunter 3. Target Alpha is also confirmed to have excellent upper body strength, judging from how Target Alpha threw Headhunter 6 at the rest of the squad. Operation Headhunter has been deemed a failure due to a lack of any useful information being gleaned from the operations footage analysis, and the failed primary and secondary objectives. Advise against further deployments into the Path of Black Leaves.
Suspected as much. Power failures when we tried to post this last night. Not sure if that's a bad sign, or if we're just being paranoid.
Moodywood pops into the comments again to have an eye-rolling conversation with a few of the regulars.
Do not proceed with this blasphemous fallacy. The one who hunts you, and you in turn wish to hunt, is not to be destroyed, but worshipped and appeased. It is of many names, and it is the one true Lord. Your attempts to slay it would be as those of a fly attempting to slay the mighty elephant, and as well-intentioned as your cause may be, things as they are is what they are meant to be. To be hunted is to show your devotion, but unknowing devotion is empty. Embrace your hunted status, but do not attempt to fight back. Perhaps, if you aid in the downfall of this blasphemous resistance, you shall be rewarded as those you call husks have been, but more so. Join in this worship or die in fear and hide from the truth.
Looking coldly at Madowa. Now you know why I call SM Blasphemer.
Oh no, another unoriginal proxy trying to turn us over to Big Daddy. When that doesn't work, he'll start taking matters into his own hands and begin trying to slay the heretics in the name of Old Slendy. I don't know if I recall correctly, but I think I remember a fly in Africa carrying some deadly disease that affected animals. That includes elephants, by the way, Mudiwa.
Serenity, your words bear more thought than I had expected from an unknowing worshipper of the lordly hunter. I see no reason to slay any runner, as that would defeat my purpose. That is to say, to kill them would be to deprive Slendy of his hunts, which would itself be blasphemy. As to the diseased fly, well, there is always a chance that this foolishness will have some detrimental effect upon the master of the hunt. If I believed that it was entirely hopeless, I'd not bother trying to turn him. After the hunt, this one has given the Lord, no matter what he does, he will have served his purpose. Who knows, perhaps the chance to wound the hunter is his reward for being such satisfying prey. Sweet Serenity, your words wound me. I am no proxy. I'm as human as any you call runner.
All of that just reminded me of that short story, The Most Dangerous Game. Seems fitting, because you know, the prey came out victorious.
The prey, in this case, is not performing an act of heroism, but rather attempting to bring about the end of the natural order.
We learned that the situation isn't sitting very well with Spectre through B2's post on the 22nd.
Spectre is kind of pissed right now. I asked him about public response to the patch announcement about 20 minutes ago. He says he really didn't want to talk about it. So I pressed him on the matter, and he decided to yell at me before calming down. Apparently, one of you guys knows his name or something and posted it in the comments section over on his blog. He's not happy to hear that. That's the sort of thing the PTC keeps seriously under wraps. There's a reason we use all these whacked out aliases. If the runners know the names of PTC executives or the command staff, then it's a serious security breach, because none of you know how to keep your mouths shut. At least, that's how Spectre's putting it. The fact that any of you know about Conference 1452 is bad news in and of itself. I didn't know about it until Spectre told me a very short, concise version of what happened once he cooled off. Guys, you probably think this is a small thing to raise hell over, considering how open we've been with you as it is, but Spectre's freakout was actually pretty legitimate. We can't have that information circulating in the blogosphere. We've got enough PTC secrecy blown as it is. The fact that the names of our command staff are still a secret is part of how we're able to operate at all anymore. The feds are watching this blog, and they do want to shut us down once and for all. Keep that in mind. Don't say any more than is necessary from now on.
We find he is very much right to feel that way in the post on the 24th.
Spectre has been arguing with the PTC command staff for the last hour. They got word that information on Conference 1452 got leaked, and Spectre's taking the heat for it. They're actually calling for us to shut the blogs down, and one of them's trying to swing support from the others to shut down the SMD altogether. It's not going to be a pretty argument, but I'm sure Spectre will win. He normally has his head on straight for this sort of thing. Good news though. The patch goes online tomorrow afternoon. In all likelihood, we can start using it to plan our next operation. Spectre says I'm not allowed to talk about what it is.
The very next day, the patch goes into effect, and we first see the results of this on Spectre's blog.
Running diagnostic. Diagnostic complete. Glitch has been repaired. Commencing activation of central processing unit. Activation successful. Commencing activation of secondary processing units and peripheral hardware. Activation successful. Paranormal Termination Consortium Helper, online and fully functional. Primary Directive, assistance in all Paranormal Termination Consortium counter-paranormal actions. Secondary Directive, assistance of irregular forces in counter-paranormal actions. Tertiary Directive, assistance in enforcement of Paranormal Termination Consortium Directive 1. Paranormal secrecy must be maintained. Requesting input. PTC SMD head executive has identified this as a shakedown run to test for interaction with organic inquiries and orders. Attempts to hack the patch will be retaliated against with extreme prejudice. You have been warned.
A follow-up post is placed by B2 just 20 minutes later on the ONT blog, and we end the month with the comforting thought that nothing has gone awry. Spectre rings in the new month with a more in-depth explanation of why he and the team have been so tight-lipped.
We didn't want to leak information on big game hunting or gone fishing until after their completion, because we didn't want to give Nightcrawler a heads up that we were after him. PTC's secrecy is now comparatively safe. Any data he stole has been retrieved or destroyed. Thank Patch for his help in keeping us afloat a while longer. Internal Affairs isn't pleased that we're taking efforts like this into our own hands, but Nightcrawler was our mess, and the guys at Central Command commend me for taking initiative. Me greenlighting big game hunting pissed the head of Internal Affairs off so much that he pretty much threatened the rest of the Central Command bigwigs in a live conference to make them stop complimenting me on a job well done. Guess that's one thing to pat myself on the back for. Back to work. We've got a certain Slender Man to kill.
BT posts another revelation on the O&T blogs later the same day.
Got the bastard myself. That was the purpose behind operations Gone Fishing and Big Game Hunting. The patch narrowed down Nightcrawler's context for Gone Fishing. Then we hunted them all down, picked them off, and moved on to Nightcrawler himself for the purposes of Operation Big Game Hunting. The patch has officially finished an appropriate shakedown run. Now we can move on to other problems.
The quiet ends less than a week later when the team's base is hit by what seems to be a well-trained and well-armed group of individuals. Spectre confirms how this rattled B2 in a post on his blog.
Now B2 is freaking out about the recent attack on our little hideout here being committed by PTC Internal Affairs. I know Internal Affairs has been on our ass lately, but that's a bit of a quick conclusion to jump to. Going to talk to the guys in charge at PTC Central Command, see if they'll confirm or deny anything. We'll be back with an overall update sometime tonight.
A warning is given about an audio transcript being leaked, and the friend of our friend drops this on the O&T blog June 7th.
SMD Command Staff Conference 15 audio transcript. Attending. SMD Head Executive Kyle Leonard, call sign, Spectre. SMD Military Department Field Commander Anthony Wilson, call sign, Bass Royal 2. SMD Science Department Head Scientist Philip Spinal, call sign, Goggles.
Okay, we're running out of options here. Who could have possibly known how and where to organize this last raid?
I'm telling you, Kyle, the only options were FBI or Internal Affairs. Knight's been liable to fly off the handle eventually. Us fixing a security hole that was his jurisdiction to handle, I wouldn't let that shit fly.
The FBI's been quiet for the most part. Could be CIA or foreign intelligence. We're not exactly contained to the USA.
All right, from the top. Fisk's boys have been leaving us alone, and Knight's been known to outright threaten the rest of the staff at Central Command before. My God, are we looking at an internal conflict?
We can't deal with that, not in our situation.
If Knight's actively working against the Slender Man division now, then it means the PTC's in even deeper shit. Our funding's been coming out of every other division that fails to get their jobs done. And they can't get their jobs done because we keep getting funding allocated to us. Twiggy's not the only supernatural Gribbly out there. We all know that. If this keeps up.
Wilson, I've seen the reports myself. The PTC's dropping into the red. Half the different defense contractors that finance us have pulled their support entirely. The possibility of us being compromised by supernatural influence, combined with increased government attention after that helicopter crash when we picked up Scott, further combined with this dimensional bleeding phenomenon that seems focused on our most critical division since the Wyoming incident makes us a liability more than an asset. They'd be better off cutting the entire PTC loose and starting from scratch.
I'm not letting that happen.
Agreed. We need to sort out who's doing what. We'll have another conference sometime this week. Look over reports, deal with problems on base since the attack, and start laying the groundwork for the SMD to break off from the PTC altogether.
Break off? Damn, I didn't think we'd go that far.
If the PTC ends up going under because of what's going on, we need to keep operating. Gotta have a backup plan. Do it.
Done and done.
I'll talk to the science team.
Audio transcript cut.
My friend is doing better. How are you?
B2 makes a massive post the next day to address this.
Okay, me and Spectre have been talking long-term priorities. Priority 1, killing the Slender Man. This has not worked out for almost the past year. No progress made at all, and it's draining us dry: money, supplies, personnel, faith in us from our superiors, everything. It's also impacting anyone who's been around the SMD long enough psychologically. The new guys aren't really getting the picture, but me and Spectre keep finding it hard to sleep at night and took to recording ourselves and reviewing the footage daily just to make sure we catch anything important before things get too bad. Our best shot has to be the Hammer of Thor, but nobody has gotten close enough to actually hit him with it, so fingers crossed. Priority 2, fixing this dimensional bleeding crap. I'm not going to lie, this dimensional bleeding has everyone here rattled. No telling when things are going to get better or worse, but it seems like nothing's happened in a while. The science team has been working on it, but with the patch needing so much effort poured into it before, there wasn't much of an opportunity to really do anything on this front until recently. So far, no word, but Goggles, the head of the science team, you guys don't really hear about him much, has been getting the nerds back on track. Priority 3, figuring out what's up with these hacker posts and the transcript and communication leaks. You guys have repeatedly come to Spectre in the past about blog posts on this blog and on Spectre's, obviously made by someone or something else that keeps hacking the blogs and posting transcripts that were supposed to be classified, up to the point of people apparently knowing Spectre's real name now. That's a problem and it needs fixing, so we need to find out how and why it's happening, then stop it. Priority 4, figuring out the identity of a friend. Then there's the guy who hacked Spectre's blog ages ago and started asking nonsensical questions for a contest. We need to find out what was up with that guy and see if he can't help us any further. Whoever it was, he seemed like he was on our side, and we can see the blog posts he put up. So far, that means he's being straight with us. We think anyways. Apparently, he hasn't been active for a while, so there's no telling when and where he'll pop up again. Priority 5. Killing Indoctrinated. This part has worked out, but to a lesser extent than anticipated. It was bad enough to warrant direct attention from the Slender Man on at least one occasion, or so we think anyway. So we must have been doing something right. Haven't engaged any Indoctrinated for a while, so that makes me think we need to really get back on the ball on that front. We did more damage when we were fighting Indoctrinated than whenever we started going after Twiggy directly. Besides, killing some more people will really raise morale around here. That's something. Priority 6. Clearing up whether or not Father Paranoia is involved in any of this at all. We honestly haven't been able to find any serious ties between the Wyoming incident and the Slender Man at all. The Wyoming TV hijacking not too far back, the one Dr. Zelfist helped inspect, was a definite sign something's up on that front, but nowadays we're not so sure. Eyes are peeled. Priority 7. Figuring out what's going on with this attack by PTC Internal Affairs. Spectre keeps insisting it has to be someone else, but I honestly think that Internal Affairs is after us. The head of Internal Affairs is definitely a bit nuts and has been known to make bad decisions, like trying to kill PTC personnel for taking care of a problem that needed taking care of ASAP. So another case of waiting for any response from the guys in charge at Central Command. Priority 8. Ensuring the safety of the reintegration tablet. Self-explanatory. Gotta watch out for the tablet and Crowley. So far, so good. Priority 9. Ensuring the safety of Dr. Cairo Zelfist. Dr. Cairo Zelfist is still with us, but he's been keeping quiet on his YouTube channel, Twitter, and his own blog. No clue why we gave him the passwords we changed them to. Haven't really spoken to him myself, and neither has Spectre. We've both been too busy to associate with someone who's essentially an irregular informant on any regular or consistent basis, even one who's on base. Seems like he's a bit scared of us, to be honest. Then again, I did interrogate him, so might be a bit of a connection there. Priority 10. Working out the kinks in the patch. The patch has proven remarkably useful and has been at work reorganizing and sorting all of the files the command staff and science team need sorted out. But the patch has a few problems with voice command recognition. If the thing was any smarter, I'd swear it was deliberately ignoring us sometimes. We've been making sure not to use it too much. The thing runs hot and we need to keep it in working condition. So the science team's been trying to split themselves between keeping the patch running and fixing the dimensional bleeding issue. Priority 11. Trying to convince the PTC's financiers to provide additional funding. This part's actually critical to us continuing to operate, so it shouldn't be this low on the priority list. But basically, the entire PTC has been dropping into the red financially. The guys who provide the PTC with their budget are looking at progress reports for the last few quarters and decided that since we weren't showing results, they need to cut funding all across the board to cut their losses. It's at an almost ludicrous point. Ever since the Slender Man warranted our attention, we started failing to make much in the way of results as the Slender Man became a higher and higher priority problem for us to deal with. It's at the point where the vast majority of the PTC's resources are being poured into our division, which means every other division can't show the results they need to thanks to a lack of assets. Some divisions are being cut altogether, others are being downsized, and it's all to keep us going in the hopes we'll make some big breakthrough, and the financiers are starting to figure that out. Central Command was happy about the tablet and us figuring out how to access the path of black leaves, but that's the thing. Central Command doesn't finance us. They just do division assignments and budget allocations each quarter. The guys who really run the show haven't put it all together that we need more money, not less. We can't keep this going until they see that, so that's Spectre's job right now. Gotta see if we can't pull this train wreck together. Everything hinges on some good things happening over the next few days.
Even with this massive leak, we're informed on the 9th that Spectre is attempting to get more funding for the team and is confirmed on the 13th to have succeeded. Spectre expresses his delight at this on his own blog the same day.
Our budget should be noticeably larger next quarter. One problem out of the way. On the subject of the recent attack on our hideout, we've had Patch analyzing DNA from the dead attackers. So far, none of them have come up as PTC employees, and even the guys who work in internal affairs have their DNA and fingerprints on our records. These guys weren't PTC. We don't have some huge fingerprint database for everyone on the planet. The fact that it isn't extensive enough to identify our attackers has been a problem for us. At least one of them came up as an ex-Marine though, considered for potential PTC recruitment, got passed up for it, and never got the memo that we even existed, so he can't have known about us. No clue what the guy would be doing participating in an attack on our front organization's building, but he and his buddies were packing, and they all definitely came from military backgrounds. Whether or not they were all former Marines specifically, I can't say, but none of them were carrying ID, and they all had guns and knew how to use them. This leaves us with a bit of new information. These guys had no connection to the PTC and decided to come and shoot us up. It's looking more and more like another indoctrinated attack to keep us off balance.
This joy is short-lived as our friend pops back in on the 18th with an ominous message.
Time is short. Pay close attention, and I will contact you directly when I can. Do not obstruct Crowley when he attempts to leave, Leonard. The outcome will be unpleasant for everyone.
This is finally addressed by B2 3 days later.
Okay, so up early on summer solstice, a friend is back and we're paying attention. He hasn't contacted us directly, so either he didn't mean us when he said you, or he meant we'd be waiting a while. Who likes solitaire to pass the time? Because I don't. On other matters, Spectre saw Dr. Zelphus' post, and we've been speaking about it at length. Pros and cons real quick. Pros. 1. He might be able to help his friend, which at this point wouldn't be a bad idea. It's one runner, but the docs helped us out, and this might be important enough to keep him useful to us. Might. Emphasis on that word. That may sound selfish, but we've got to stay focused on the bottom line. 2. We can't keep babysitting the doc. We're not exactly short-handed now, but we're still not swimming in manpower. And every squad we send to keep an eye on Dr. Zelphus as he wanders around the city we're hiding in right now is another one we could use elsewhere. Again, might sound selfish, but the bottom line is more important. Cons. 1. For one, he knows where we're based right now, and with how many of our hideouts and bases have compromised in the last year, that's something we can't exactly risk getting out. Dr. Zelphus leaving the premises and not coming back would put that information in jeopardy by potentially allowing FBI or CI elements to track us down by just capturing or arresting him, and then interrogating him to find out where we are. The guy cracks easily under serious interrogation efforts. I know that because I've done that. Lock him in a room and play Rick Astley songs, and he'll sing like a bird. Yes, that's a joke, but it's fairly easy to see my point. So, possible capture by non-indoctrinated elements makes him a serious security risk, which leads to 2. It goes against PTC protocol to let people go like this for the above reasons. Spectre honestly doesn't care about this, but we just got the financiers back on our side, and having a bit of a maverick attitude towards our own policies doesn't exactly show we mean business to the guys funding us. It's just something I'm concerned about. So we've spoken at length about it. He's helped us out and he seems to be legit. No indoctrinated influence we can see. He's helped us in the past, hasn't acted too weird. His laptop checks out. I think he's clean. He hasn't actually come to speak to us yet, but we have an answer for him if he comes to bother us about it here in person. We've got a car lined up and everything if he decides to leave. In other news, been watching Crowley. This reintegration thing is something we haven't actually explored, but I don't really care. And finally, this sick feck is on my list.
3 different completely separate blogs are linked, and I am once again not going down that rabbit hole. We will be here all day. A follow-up post is up 2 hours later, and of course, there are multiple ominous threats placed in the comments.
Didn't see this one coming. Watching the security cameras right now, Crowley's packed his things and he's trying to slip out the back. I'm giving the all clear for the security staff to let him out without a problem. Hey, when you get a heads up from a likely supernatural presence that doesn't hide blog posts from you, you're inclined to believe it when it says keeping a certain guy from leaving is a bad idea. Especially when that guy showed no inclination to leave until after that warning came through. Spectre can bother me about it later.
The last Spectre blog post comes June 26th, and it addresses a message from our friend.
Leonard, come to the enclosed address at 5 o'clock local time, Indianapolis, on Tuesday, June 28th. Come alone.
The above message was in my private email inbox. Indianapolis was the location of the winter solstice event that started all of this dimensional bleeding crap in full. The address he included, I edited out of this post for security reasons. If the friend wants me to find something or meet him in person, then the fact that he wants me to go there means something. Not sure if I should go, especially since he's saying to come alone.
I also need to note that the shadow comments here.
Solstices and other astrological dates of significance are days the veil is weakest because they open the path to other worlds, dimensions, times, and planes of existence.
B2 tells us that Spectre takes off to meet with our friend June 28th, and though he initially thinks something is very wrong when he posts 2 days later, he shortly thereafter gives us the wonderful news that the big guy is alright. July starts with B2 telling us that Spectre once again can't access his blog, which is a very, very bad sign.
Okay, Spectre couldn't access his blog. Probably bad news there. At any rate, he's back safe and sound. What he found definitely implies something else was going on before he showed up. He found the original Wyoming TV hijacking videos from the Wyoming incident on infinite loop on a big screen TV. The message he got said to meet the friend at an address that turned out to be a small house in the suburban area of the city. No sign of Twiggy, no sign of any indoctrinated, and no sign of anyone else there, except for the fact that there were a few things that had quite apparently been moved recently, and there was no sign of any dust in the house. None. The whole house was fully furnished, had a clean pool in the backyard, and generally looked like it was inhabited, with no sign of what happened to the people who lived there. He went to the extent of asking the neighbors living near that house about it. They said nobody has lived there since, they think, sometime in 2007. Right around the time things in Wyoming started to go bad. Spectre immediately latched onto the idea of our friend working for Father Paranoia. That raises a whole bunch of questions, though. I'm not sold on it. We're still not sure if our friend is actually on our side here, and if Father Paranoia is actually involved, then all hell could break loose at any given moment. I don't like this.
We get a post for each blog, the first being an update set of priorities from B2 on O&T.
Alright, so we've been going over our current priorities ever since we've managed to take care of a few of our problems in quick succession. Priority 1, killing the Slender Man. Still no progress, and that's frustrating the hell out of me. Priority 2. Fixing this dimensional bleeding crap. There's been some word from a science team on this, actually. Now, according to them, there's been a lot more stability or whatever ever since the reintegration tablet flipped the feck out. They have no idea why, they have no idea what's going on, and they all have some suspicion that it's just the calm before the storm. Lovely. Priority 3. Figuring out what's up with these hacker posts and the transcript and communication leaks. Still no luck with this, but judging from how nobody has tried to bring it up lately, there hasn't been one in a while. Priority 4. Figuring out the identity of a friend. We have no idea where our friend stands right now. The Wyoming incident videos at that suburb may have been some attempt to try and tell us something, but if he's working for Father Paranoia, why is he tipping us off to some of the stuff he knows about? It makes no sense. Does he know anything he's not telling us? Priority 5. Killing indoctrinated. This sick fuck's still on my list. No, I haven't forgotten him, but as soon as I can, one bullet between the eyes. Boom, headshot. Priority 6. Clearing up whether or not Father Paranoia is involved in any of this at all. Done. Priority 7. Figuring out what's going on with this attack by PTC Internal Affairs. We're still unsure of whether this was an indoctrinated attack or actually was PTC Internal Affairs. If it was Internal Affairs, we've got a problem. If it was indoctrinated, then see Priority 5. Priority 8. Ensuring the safety of the reintegration tablet. Not a whole lot of point now. We got what we wanted out of the tablet, and it's pretty much become useless ever since the summer solstice. We've been leaving the matter alone. Crowley's been on the move lately, but we can't afford to track his movements. We're spread too thin elsewhere as it is. It's out of our hands. Priority 9. Ensuring the safety of Dr. Cairo Zelfus. The situation on Dr. Zelfus' end is now out of our hands too. Best of luck to him. Priority 10. Working out the kinks in the patch. We've got this fixed for the most part, and the patch is now hard at work helping the science team track and compile dimensional distortion and changes so as to make it easier to figure out how to fix it. We might actually make some progress in the near future. Priority 11. Trying to convince the PTC's financiers to provide additional funding. Also done. This brings us to a series of revised objectives. 1. Kill the Slender Man. Top priority, nothing less. But that's kind of a take shots when the opportunity presents itself thing rather than search and destroy, because we haven't seen hide or lack of hair of Twiggy for ages, and we can't go looking for him except in the path of black leaves, and we all know how well that one worked out. 2. Fix the dimensional bleeding. With the patch upgraded and in a better position to help, we should make some progress. 3. Find out where this hacker guy who keeps leaking transcripts is and keep him from leaking any further information. That shit's classified for a reason, and it's not making our job easier. 4. Find out where and when the friend is going to be when he contacts us again. We need to find him and get some answers. Concrete, straightforward answers. 5. Kill that Mr. Collector piece of shit and any of his indoctrinated buddies. 6. Narrow down suspects for that last attack and either clean house or return the favor depending on the culprit. If Internal Affairs did it, they're not talking. And I mean not talking. No confirmation or denial at all. Spectres called out the head of Internal Affairs on it during a live conference twice now, and he was completely ignored. 7. Narrow down our list of priorities so that we have something in the range of 2 or 3 instead of 6, because this shit is getting ridiculous.
There's also an odd conversation between B2 and an indoctrinated whose blog is specifically linked in the post. On Spectre's blog, our friend pokes their head in again.
Leonard, you and your little audience are reading this because I have reason to believe you are trustworthy. Do not take that trust lightly. Do not continue to question my motives, those of anyone who may be working under me, or those of any superiors I may have. Just know that I am here to help where I can. Does it matter where the help is coming from at this point?
As one can imagine, the regulars don't seem to vibe well with them anymore.
You're an odd duck, friendly, but I don't think you're against him. So who are you really?
Do not question my allegiances.
So just to trust you? Faith maybe? Your tone is starting to be suspicious, my friend.
B2 addresses this the next day, but things get even worse on Spectre's blog on the 8th.
Lucky me. Anyways, things have been quiet ever since my little trip to Indiana. Science team's hard at work. With any luck, we'll get away to Lucky me. Anyways, things have been quiet ever since my little trip to Indiana. Science team's hard at work. With any luck, we'll get away. Lucky me. Anyways, things have been quiet ever since my little trip to Indiana. With any luck, we'll get away to keep the dimensional bleeding. Lucky me. Anyways, things have been quiet ever since my little trip to Indiana. With any luck, we'll get a way to keep the dimensional bleeding under control developed and figured out before anything especially bad happens. If this is just some weird calm before the storm, then I want us ready for the storm. What the feck?
B2 responds to this once again the same day, in the funniest way may I add, and pisses off another indoctrinated enough to make them comment.
So, Spectre just called me over to his office, showed me his blog, and I have a theory. You ready for this? The blog has schizophrenia. Mystery solved. Pack it up, folks. We're done here.
I'm just going to say this, because if it isn't painfully obvious by now, then you're fighting a losing battle. If Father is the cause for the dimensional bleeding, then it would follow that to stop the dimensional bleeding, you need to kill Father. Good luck with that, by the way. All your little runner friends out there that were doing research are either dead or too busy running for their lives to be of any help to your group. The funny thing is that you know how to kill Father too, but instead of building a ranged weapon system, you design one that requires someone get wit in striking distance, which by the way is hilarious. Reading this blog has always been good for a laugh or two.
On the 9th, B2 notifies us that he will be stepping away for a week and the blog will be updated by a team member named Goggles.
Still no word on Mr. Collector's current location. Soon as we get a solid lead, I'm sending a team out. Spectre's cleared any shootings for permission to make the news. No lasers, though. I'd go along myself, but something's come up. I'll probably be gone all next week. Updates to this blog will be made by Goggles in the meantime.
The marksman is suspicious.
Goggles makes their first post July 13th.
Hey everybody, I'm Goggles. I don't post here most of the time, but Bazroyal 2 sat on what he called personal businesses and kind of left me in charge of this little pet project of his and Spectre's. I'm sure you're all positively anxious to hear how I'm doing. I mean, sure, B2 is the big, badass sniper, and Spectre runs the show, but let me put it this way. The scientists are the ones who make or break any PTC case and never let anyone tell you otherwise. So, all bragging and attempts at blowing my own importance out of proportion aside, my morning's been rather hectic thus far. The patch has been kind of acting weird. It's doing a few things off to the side, anticipating orders, and has been compiling dimensional variation reports all night despite being told to power down to minimize risk of overheating. So we're checking that out. Not sure how long it's been acting like this. On the subject of father paranoia, we've been narrowing down whether or not this is the real deal or just a guy fecking with us. For once, it's looking like the real deal, in which case we can expect close cooperation with the father paranoia division of the PTC. This is actually a bad thing. Joint PTC operations have no overriding protocol for determining chain of command between the two divisions. Both divisions tend to retain overall authority over their own personnel, and that can lead to some infighting between the officers of both groups. It's happened before, and usually ends badly. At any rate, this father paranoia thing falls under their jurisdiction, but if the two cases are tied together, we're gonna need to work with them. Not looking forward to that. Nothing's worse than getting the science teams of two separate divisions in the same room. We start off comparing notes, and it eventually degenerates into us stealing each other's research, sometimes at gunpoint. Our dimensional bleeding problem's definitely not getting better, but we think we've managed to contain the damage and keep it from spreading. So we're making progress for those of you still concerned with that. Now, one thing we've had to deal with recently. Some cops have been coming around asking a few very specific questions we never want to hear, along the lines of, have you seen these people? At least one of the people missing is in our custody, and at least one other has been confirmed indoctrinated and executed with a few others. Spectre's talking about relocating, but we're running out of places to go. If the cops narrow down our hideout here, then we end up with very little else to work with, and we can't move the patch, so we need to stay here. We might have a problem on our hands, but Spectre's got to have some ideas. He's gotten us this far. I can't see him letting us down this time. I'll update sometime tomorrow. Got some test results out of the patch to look over. Then it's time for breakfast.
This is followed up by another post on the 15th.
Spectre made a few calls. We dodged a bullet, but there's no telling how long that's gonna hold up. We've been getting a lot of incentive from Central Command, read threats to transfer our funding to other divisions, to get off our duffs and actually make something happen. It's been especially boring for a while around here. Most of us have been holed up in here on lookout during our work hours or pointlessly bashing our heads against a metaphorical wall. Progress has been slow on all fronts, but we're making progress nonetheless. It's kind of depressing since it's been so long since our last big breakthrough, and there's been close to no major changes in the situation ever since. We haven't really been messed with since the last attack by what we think were indoctrinated that knew how to use guns. We've gotten stagnant. The patch has been helping with research and data compilation, but we've been near totally isolated here in our little hideout, trying to come up with a magic bullet to win. We have no idea what's going on in the wider irregular community nowadays. Most of us are too busy to keep up to date on any of the runner blogs circulating out there, which doesn't help matters in the least. And this Mr. Collector that's got B2 so pissed off is showing an attitude outside that of most of the indoctrinated community, which indicates that when combined with what little information we've got regarding that last attack, indoctrinated are somehow evolving, getting more complex, smarter. That's definitely a bad sign. The Slender Man hasn't been sighted by us in, shoot, I don't even know how long. Think it forgot about us? On a lot of levels, we've forgotten about it. We've been so wrapped up in researching the dimensional bleeding and how to stop it, keeping the cops/FBI off us, and putting out a few other fires over the last couple of months that we haven't really stopped to try and track down the thing. The reason we haven't given the band hammer a shot is because it hasn't come looking for us, and we haven't gone looking for it. Kind of an odd ceasefire. Anyways, that magic bullet might actually be coming around. If the patch can figure out how to stop the dimensional bleeding, there might be an angle we haven't considered before. Keeping the Slender Man from getting away like he normally does when he just disappears can allow us to finally pin the thing down. Even if it can't be killed, we might be able to keep it contained. That's all a theory, but we might be able to make it work out. Of course, given our track records, something will go horribly wrong. Oh, well, let's do it. For science. B2 is slated to come back sometime tomorrow. I'm sure he'll tell us all about his trip. He never really explained what that was all about.
We find out in the next 2 days that B2 is stuck out in Africa and will be gone another week. Spectre makes a short post about this on his blog on the 17th as well. Speaking of Spectre, he pops up for the first time in a long time, July 19th, and the reason for it is not good.
Goggles is busy in the labs right now, so I'm responsible for keeping everyone updated. In light of B2 getting stuck in Africa, he's responsible for getting himself out. I don't doubt that he can, but he's stuck there until he can get back home on his own. We're too busy here, and I need everyone on hand. Mr. Collector, on the other hand, has proven he's out for blood. His kill count has spiked in the last week. If only for the sake of keeping this from making the news and possibly exposing us and the Slender Man to the world. You know he's gonna prattle on about it if he's ever interviewed, and he'll try, I think. We probably need to take him down ahead of schedule. We're narrowing down his location, but we can't devote the patch to that right now. It's too busy assisting Goggles, and we want Goggles and the rest of the science team done with the dimensional restabilization equipment as soon as possible. So we're resorting to identifying where he's been and using that to determine where he's going based on what he said on his blog, combined with our usual methods of covert recon to confirm he's there once we narrow down a location. I'd rather use Patch's pattern analysis, but the patch is tied down with the lab work, so our field agents are on their own. We're not going to say if he's hot or cold, but that incident with the school definitely means we need to get on it in earnest. One indoctrinated running around with delusions of grandeur and fighting the good fight by killing kids isn't what we're normally supposed to really focus on, but the body counts entered the hundreds. The bigger this gets, the more we, and more importantly, the Slender Man, risk very public exposure if the police get him into custody. We can't let that happen, since there's no guarantee of our main target somehow bailing him out of trouble a second time, and if he gets interviewed and ends up on mainstream media somehow, it'll cause more problems than we can deal with. If he gets caught and ends up staying in police custody, gets interviewed, and it gets aired to a large enough audience, then, well, there goes the neighborhood. On to another topic. There doesn't seem to have been any hacking attempts or transcript leaks lately, since you guys haven't brought it up for a while. Keep us posted about that, guys. If there's another transcript leak, we need to get that fixed as soon as we can. As for the friend, there hasn't been any word from him. If he requests another meetup, we're going to try and talk to him face to face, and hopefully he'll oblige. The ball's in his court. On that note, there's been no further leads regarding the attack on our hideout here. I'm not sure if we should completely drop that investigation or try another angle. There hasn't been much that's changed over the last month, so that's a small blessing. Goggles is looking at it all wrong. Quiet and undisturbed means stable. That's all we can really hope for right now.
Things go from bad to worse when another transcript is posted on ONT July 20th.
Subject: SMD/Central Command Conference. Sender: PTC Central Command Transcript Office. 2. PTC Transcript Record Databank. Date: July 20th, 11/1/29. Conference 1793 Audio Transcript. Attending: PTC General Marcus Carmack, callsign, Orca. PTC Head Executive Omar Carlisle, callsign, drumroll. SMD Head Executive Kyle Leonard, callsign, Spectre. SMD Science Department Head Scientist Philip Spinal, callsign, Goggles.
Carmack, Carlisle.
Leonard, what is the meaning of this conference? It's 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, no reason. Just thought I'd call up, say hi, request permission to authorize the imminent exposure protocol, and top it off with permission to engage the target of imminent exposure with heavy assets.
Wait. You want to authorize gunship deployments again? Against what?
I know what this is about. Carmack, he's talking about this collector business.
You want to kill some random psychopath with a gunship?
Gunships, plural.
Are you completely insane?
And with the imminent exposure protocol active, no less. You're basically requesting permission to broadcast our existence to the world by way of excessive collateral damage.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how you can make this call to Central Command and remain so calm about this while requesting authority to deploy heavy weapons. With a straight face. This is a joke, right?
Yes, Omar, I'm joking. I'm really calling to request authorization to deploy our tank. Can I have authority to deploy heavy assets now?
I don't appreciate jokes, Leonard, especially not when we're discussing such a matter as the imminent exposure protocol.
Wait, we have a tank?
I'm not joking. Rockets, tanks, gunships. Give me something to green light here.
Absolutely not.
Why is it whenever I try to do my job, Central Command does everything in their power to tie down assets or flat out keep me from deploying anything big enough?
Don't start up with that. We've given you plenty of leeway. That blog, the rampant gunship deployments, numerous casualties, drafting of irregular personnel. You're almost as bad as Nile.
Don't you dare go there, Omar. I'm not Nightcrawler. We've been over this.
You're going too far this time.
I'm going to green light it, with or without your permission.
I'm calling your bluff, Spectre. You wouldn't dare do that.
Could somebody rewind for a minute? What was that about a tank?
You're right. I wouldn't. Congratulations. You called my bluff.
What do you hope for this temper tantrum to solve, Leonard?
A very bad problem.
Spectre, you're not getting authorization to deploy heavy assets for the imminent exposure protocol. Kill him with nothing bigger than an automatic rifle. Do a drive-by if you feel it necessary. Nothing pointlessly public if at all possible.
Carmack, authorize it.
Of course, I won't authorize it, Spectre. I'm in full agreement with Carlisle. No good.
You won't authorize it either?
Why should I? No point. It's one guy. Kill him by all means. Just do it the usual way.
Is it such a bad thing to make sure the guy's dead?
Spectre, think about it. You're authorizing imminent exposure and requesting permission for tanks and gunships to make sure one person stays dead and buried when a brief engagement on foot would do just as well with minimal exposure.
Spectre, are you all right?
What do you mean?
You're sweating a lot.
What are you talking about?
Can we go back to the tank for just a minute?
Shit, you're right. I am sweating. I need to go and get a drink or something. Excuse me.
Oh, sit down. As long as it doesn't afflict your ability to think rationally. Not that it's a skill you're known for these days.
I'm not nuts, all right?
Spectre, you eat, breathe, and drink this job, and specifically this case. Maybe it's time for a vacation.
No way. We're finally making some progress.
Do you trust your subordinates to properly do their jobs while you take a day off?
Of course not.
Hey, in which case, give me a moment here. And there we go. All of your passwords and registry information will be rejected for the next 2 weeks. You won't be able to access any PTC databanks or darknet sites.
You're locking me out.
Take a vacation, Leonard, for your own sake. You're 29 years old. You have graying hair. Your division has reached an onset of stability in the wake of a recent drop in activity that you can track. Your situation will not totally collapse if you take a vacation. I'd suggest Florida.
Unbelievable. I try to do my job and you lock me out.
Listen to yourself. You're obsessed with this case. Take a break.
You listen to me, Carlisle.
Take a break or I will have you discharged, shot, and left for dead in a dumpster.
You make a persuasive argument. I'll start packing immediately.
Connection cut. Connection cut. Connection cut.
Will somebody please confirm or deny the existence of the tank?
Connection cut. End transcript.
Soon he'll be isolated. Perfect.
Because of this, Spectre tells us in his personal blog that he is taking a vacation since he is directly being targeted at this point, and this is reiterated with a post by Goggles on O&T.
Heading for Florida. Don't worry, Goggles has tipped me off to the possibility of me being in danger. I'm taking a team of SMD troopers as bodyguards because my boss refuses to let me cancel. Goggles is officially in charge while I'm gone, unless B2 gets back early. In which case, B2's in charge.
Spectre's going on a little trip. I'm not at liberty to divulge all the details, but it involved a hissy fit, some confusion on my part, and Central Command locking him out of the PTC Darknet for 2 weeks. I'm in charge here at the SMD hideout while he's away. Great. Word from B2. He apparently got into a shootout with a bunch of African militia out in the middle of fecking nowhere. How's this correspond to him getting out of Africa? Apparently, he needs to get enough money to pay off a guy who can get him safely off the continent, which makes no sense because he could just ask for someone to wire him some money or call for a pickup. We have PTC units operating in Africa, so he could just get in touch with one of them. Anyways, apparently, he's raising the money by hunting down and killing African militia, and then he's taking their rations for food and selling their guns to some other militia. Why do I have the feeling he's played way too much Fallout and just wants an excuse to get away with this kind of thing in real life for a little while? Anyways, the science team's finally finished going over all of the test results from the patch. We're finally getting to work on some actual devices now. As for Mr. Collector, we've given Central Command a rough idea of his current location, and they've dispatched a few investigators. They're already on the move. Once they have a solid fix on his location, the SMD will send in a squad to wrap things up.
The very next day, we learned that an indoctrinated named the Collector has compromised their home base, which requires them to move again. What's worse is by the 25th, we hear some troubling news about Spectre and Co.
He hasn't answered any calls, and he's not replying to emails. So I contacted his bodyguards. Turns out they're all dead and Spectre's disappeared for one reason or another. Either he's gone to ground, or he's been captured or killed. I haven't gotten an answer for that. How do I know this from calling a dead guard? It wasn't the dead guy who answered the phone. Someone took his phone, said that he was dead, and hung up on me. If Spectre wanted or needed help, he'd contact us himself, so I have to assume he's unable to, or simply won't, for whatever reason. So for now, Spectre's on his own. We need to relocate anyways. B2, I know you're reading this. Please, just get some money wired. We can't wait for you anymore.
B2 responds to this with an attempt to calm Goggles down even a little bit. The last post on ONT for July comes on the 29th, and it's a long one from Goggles.
B2 took a team down to Florida right when he got back from Africa. The hotel manager was coerced to help us out through a combination of bribery and forged FBI badges. Spectre was nowhere to be found, and the manager mentioned that there'd been no sign of the guest who rented the room for a couple of days. The manager mentioned there had been a guy looking for Spectre, though. Asked for his cover name while in public, the one he rented a hotel room with. Gray shirt, brown hair, fairly nondescript, the kind of guy you'd expect to miss walking down a street or in a crowd. B2 and his team searched the room top to bottom, didn't find any kind of hidden message or warning. The manager said there were no signs of a struggle in the room. Spectre just up and disappeared. If anything like that happened, they would have called the police. It wasn't long after that we got a call from a cell number one of the dead bodyguards had used. The guy in possession of the phone, whoever he is, wants a rendezvous. He didn't say why, but he rattled off a very interesting list of facts. Whoever it is has a fairly intricate knowledge of PTC operating procedure. We don't exactly pass out flyers with that information. Either it's someone in the PTC or Spectre's been captured and he's getting interrogated. And he's correct. We We've got to find him, and fast. The rendezvous is to take place tomorrow. He's provided an address. We're not going to say where or when, as he requested. As for Mr. Collector, our team's still hot on his trail, regardless of his offer. This Mr. Reed fellow, however, is interesting. As important as finding Spectre is, Collector needs to be dealt with, and Mr. Reed's a potential security risk. We've already dispatched 2 squads to Reed's address. They have orders to take him alive if possible, but if he's difficult, another one for the body count doesn't hurt. Internal Affairs has been bugging the crap out of us to just get back to work and let them find Spectre. They're being unreasonable about this. We haven't given 2 shits about their authority before, and we're not about to start now. Meanwhile, our relocation is almost finalized. Things are cleared up, and our previous safe house is now recognized as a potential risk for future PTC divisions to use until this matter with Collector is resolved. I've also been getting back on topic in terms of the science team's workload. We had a theory relating to the electric theorem. Common circulating theory is that the Slender Man is easy to harm with electricity and magnetism. So, assuming dimensional manipulation can be done artificially, if at all, we might be able to dimensionally contain him to keep him from just getting away. Get him inside a cage consisting entirely of highly magnetic and conductive materials, run a massive current through, and then get it to close in around him. The result should be a bit explosive. That's assuming any of that works at all, let alone hurts him. We might be able to actually kill the bastard. We'd need to lure him into the cage though. But again, just some theories we've been kicking around. We've also been debating lethal taser rounds again. The problem is that solid projectiles seem to do nothing upon impact. Presumably, that's just without an electric current, and just don't connect if they do have an electric current. Confirmed video evidence of a blunt object and a car not hurting the Slender Man exist and are currently on the Everyman Hybrid channel on YouTube. That was the whole reason we broke out the laser carbines to deal with this, and they were effective. Current theory to explain that here at the SMD involves the stuff that hits the Slender Man simply moving too fast and being something different from your average baseball bat. In the case of the laser carbines, a beam of coherent light. Nothing slower has ever been confirmed to harm it. You don't get faster than the speed of light, and the light's not actually solid. And even the laser carbines never really did anything but make it back off, which could be explained by any number of things. That might change with the addition of a running current into the mix, but that still leaves the matter of the taser rounds just not connecting. I don't know, I'll keep kicking the idea around. Anyways, we'll keep you posted.
A follow-up to this is the final post on Spectre's blog from B2.
V2 here. Goggles just updated the main blog. Figured I'd throw in my 2 cents over here. Goggles pretty much laid it all out for you, but there's one important thing he left out. See, one of the nerds doesn't really ever bathe, and he itches all over his body. So what does he do? He scratches and rolls off small piles of dead skin covered in minuscule amounts of dirt, then starts rolling it up into a little ball. I just found one such little ball on my desk in my shiny office that I have because I'm the field commander for the SMD nowadays. Let me repeat that. I found a fecking dead skin katamari on my desk.
August post began on the 3rd with an update on the search for Spectre.
The rendezvous was with a guy matching the description of the guy looking for Spectre. He doesn't have Spectre, but he works for someone who might know where he is. Or at least that's what he claims. It was worked out as a very simple agreement. The PTC makes a guy he wants gone disappear. We get Spectre back. Internal Affairs wants to kill him, possibly kill Spectre if necessary, and keep the SMD out of the equation altogether. We're thinking of agreeing to the terms of his offer. We asked him if he was responsible for killing Spectre's bodyguards, and he said that he wasn't personally responsible, but he knows what did it. Those exact words. What did it, not who. So of course we're on our toes now. No word from the team pursuing Collector, but I doubt he's managed to take them down. Last reported location was Baton Rouge. It's likely they're closing in on Shreveport by now. Relocation's more or less complete. We finished putting the patch back together at the new safe house. A few more days and we'll be able to write this place off. Oh, and for those who heard of my Katamari problem, I forced that guy into a shower at gunpoint and told him to stay the feck out of my office.
There's nothing until the 9th where we learn about both the good and the bad that occurred during the last 6 days.
Relocation's complete. That's one small blessing. We did as our mysterious informant asked. One guy we have no connection to, dead and buried. We've been looking into his history after we got his name. So far, nothing notable. By all appearances, he was a fairly random, off-the-street kind of guy. Worked as an accountant. In return for killing him, we've been given a lead on the location of a guy who might know where Spectre is. A team's been dispatched already, and they've been ordered to take this man alive. As for our informant buddy, we're considering tracking him down too. There's too many questions and not enough answers. If we can get everyone in the same room, we might be able to get the air cleared a bit, if only to get back to our main job. I don't doubt this whole mess is Slender Man related. It's just a matter of when we come face to lack of face with it again. Our team tracking Collectors made it to Shreveport. They've been settling in for the last week and are trying to track him down. Overall command of all operations within Shreveport has been handed off to the squad leader. He's officially in charge down there until this whole mess with Collector's done. I just hope that none of this is some big mistake. Goggles has taken to a pet project. Nice to see someone on task here. Kind of wondering if I'm going nuts from not being out in the field for so long.
And an imposter decides to pop up the next day with this confusing gem.
I refuse to tolerate this. Do you understand me? I will not be denied. I will not be touched. My attempts to keep them trapped by their own inactions have failed, and now they are after me. I will not be denied.
Another troubling update on the search for Spectre comes from Goggles on the 12th.
Goggles here. There's been a few other developments regarding our investigation into Spectre's abduction, but I'll be posting about those later today. Right now, me and B2 just noticed something. We were looking through a couple of the SMD's budget reports. Me and B2 have been splitting the paperwork that the head executive would normally handle until we can find Spectre, and we're noticing a lot of stuff that's not making sense. A lot of funds have been transferred from our general maintenance fund to the science department, all with Spectre's consent and permission. I didn't request any of these financial transfers. We didn't get the money for any of the supplies they say they're for, and we didn't get the supplies themselves. I wasn't even informed of any of this, and it says I made the request, and then Spectre gave the green light. Some of these financial transfers have gone through within the last 2 weeks, which isn't possible because he hasn't been here the last 2 weeks. B2 has noticed the same problem regarding military supplies, funding for ammunition, training dummies, spare sets of NVGs, and thermal goggles, etc. None of it was requested by him, and Spectre apparently said it was all right, despite him not being here. Someone's stealing our cash, so we've got the patch tracing where all the money's going. The transfers all appear to have happened at consistent, regular intervals, so we should be able to figure out who's doing this if we just trace where it goes during the next scheduled transfer. We'll be posting later tonight with further findings regarding our search for Spectre. We think we've got the guy who knows where Spectre is.
Shoutout pops up in the comments with a quite lengthy post.
The problem I am dealing with, within the dimensional mess I am diving in right about now, is that both of the ways the continuum works exist parallel to each other at the same moment, without negating each other either. That shouldn't happen. Only one per dimension should work. The butterfly effect, Slendy, and magic shouldn't be able to coexist in the same dimension, but they do nonetheless. In other words, watching your attempts at fixing time-space before it becomes a total mess is funny for me, because there is no way in hell that you will fix this in a time frame of less than an eon. Be happy. At least your reality will stabilize soon. If I succeed in unraveling the 20-something dimensions that are threatening to merge with each other right now, if you are really lucky, I might be able to make sure you will never experience that kind of thing again. There will be a few leftover problems though, e.g. the 2 different ways reality divides magic, and statistic will become one, and tulpas will keep existing. In other words, magic, Slendy, and the butterfly effect will coexist from then on. I hope you can live with crazy things happening on a daily basis, because it is impossible to truly fix this bleeding without rewriting some of the laws reality is based on. Also, Planet Niles, should you ever get to see this comment, dimensional bleeding can happen at any given moment because it only requires for someone/thing to break the walls between the dimensions. Especially dimensions close to each other in their history can get this problem easily. There is a higher pressure on their walls to keep them apart because they are so hard to differentiate. Normally this doesn't happen with more than 3 dimensions at once, but Slendy's weakening of the walls of multiple dimensions at once, done by more than 10 versions of him in the same number of dimensions. The solstice event's similar outcome, Slendy getting wounded in more than 10 other dimensions, and the simultaneous warping of the dimensional walls by hurting Slendy during the solstice happening in at least 2 dimensions at once simply were too much. Like I said, all of this has become quite a mess. It is a miracle that you only have such a small amount of bleeding in your dimension. I hope it stays that way till I am finished with the biggest timey-wimey ball of dimensions, and finally got enough time to fix the smaller ones. Good luck, even though you probably will never read this. At least some of you, if not all, will have died within the 2 years it will take for my comment to reach you.
After an internet outage on the 13th, we get another update on the team's findings on the 14th.
Hey gang, Goggles here. B2 and his military department buddies have been having a few interviews with the guy they found. I'm gonna shorten this to the basics as much as I possibly can. We've got more leads to follow up on, thanks to the interrogation. But more importantly, we think this is the guy who's been backing with us this whole time by leaking transcripts and classified information. The guy you people keep telling us about. The reason we think this is because he's been making a lot of comments about random details only someone in the PTC would know. And we've checked all employee personnel records. He's not in any of them. Sure, the dimensional bleeding might raise the red flag there, but I've got a gut feeling this guy's the real deal, and B2 shares my concerns. I mean it. I honestly think we have our man. For once. B2 said to put this offer up. Hell, if I know why, but if anyone wants us to ask him certain questions, feel free to post in the comments section. We'll be taking requests for the next 2 days, and getting some of our own questions answered in the meantime. In other news, the team we sent to capture Mr. Reed, Collector's good friend, finally caught him. We've already done everything in our power to make him and any mention of him disappear off the face of the earth, drained all of his assets from his bank account under our battlefield salvage policy, and brought him in for a little chat. As soon as we got any information we deemed necessary out of him, B2 had him lined up against the wall and had him shot. No new information about our other, more relevant concerns, but Reed's dead, and we've got a few bills paid thanks to his generous donation. We're going to be pursuing the leads turned up by the interrogation, but we've noticed a few more things. B2 and I were looking further back through the financial records, looking for any further discrepancies, and the first time it seemed to happen is as far back as 2 months ago. Spectre knew about this financial record problem and didn't say a word.
Though they seem to believe this is our friend, the only post in August and the last post on Spectre's blog on the 20th says otherwise.
I have faith you'll make the right choice when the time comes. But if you are going to continue your search for Spectre, Bazroyal 2, know this. He is worth more to me alive than dead. I will begin making preparations for the unveiling of the worms in your apple very soon. It will likely bring your journeys to an end, but I think you are resourceful enough to handle what is to come. Paranoid? Were I in your position, I'd feel much the same way.
The final post of August on ONT, which is posted on the 26th, is another long one with more findings and a response to the last post from our friend.
Let's just put it this way. We've run across a lot of problems. Where to begin? Okay, first off, we've done some further digging into the last couple of months. We finally decided to do a line-by-line check of all the code in our computers again. Everything came up clean, no viruses or anything. Then we checked the patch, just for good measure. The patch's operating system has been corrupted from the day it was activated. How it happened, we're not sure. It makes sense now. The patch was occasionally unresponsive or didn't listen to certain commands over the last couple of months, and upon closer inspection, everything it was giving us was intentionally falsified in small ways. So, after some close looks at pretty much everything on the patch, we made a bit of a breakthrough regarding our stolen finances. The patch had access to all of the bank accounts our division uses, so it makes some sense. All the money's been getting funneled into 3 different bank accounts. In regards to the first account, we're not absolutely certain who it belongs to, but it hasn't been touched for over half a year. There was a large payment to a private security company from the second account right around the time of the attack on our hideout. We're conducting research on the names involved as I type this. The third seems untouched recently, but the important part is who it belongs to. It was made right around the time the patch came online, and it's been confirmed to belong to Spectre's public alias. Our search for Spectre's taken on a new aspect. We need him to sort out what's going on with this whole financial issue. We're not sure how Spectre is linked to the patch's data corruption, but there's a few possibilities. None of them are pleasant. Regarding our search for Spectre, our interrogation of our transcript leaking buddy has turned up some interesting facts. After a week of on and off interrogation/torture, he finally let slip a few details. He's indoctrinated, says his name is Kevin Hound, and he's most certainly not a kid. Looks to be in his mid-20s. After a bit more effort, he eventually gave us his friend's location, as well as Spectre's. No name. Says he doesn't know it. From the way he said it, I got the impression he wasn't exactly on friendly terms with the guy. If nothing else, it gave us a few more questions to answer. Like we didn't have enough to answer already, right? We've already dispatched 2 teams to the locations he's given us. They should be arriving right about now. It's part of why we didn't want to talk about this publicly until today. Might have tipped some people off we were coming. If this doesn't answer any of our questions, I'll eat my gas mask. Oh, and our friend left a little encouragement over on Spectre's blog.
Thankfully, B2 does let us know that they caught our friend on September 1st, or at least he thinks they did. 4 posts appear on the blog September 4th, and each is more troubling and stranger than the last, starting with one from B2.
The indoctrinated that's been leaking all of those transcripts has shown us everything he's shown you guys. It doesn't add up. A lot of what he says in the posts he's put up don't point towards him working for the Slender Man unless it was an intentional misdirection. In the meantime, we've been talking to the friend, and if what the friend is telling us is right, then we've been getting played for fools this entire time, ever since the SMD was formed by Central Command. Central Command was played, we were played, Nightcrawler was played, and if he's telling the truth, Father Paranoia was played. I'm not inclined to believe him at face value, but there's something about him that just seems to make sense. He can explain it better than I can, but there's a lot we didn't know until just recently. Everything we've done up until this point has been absolutely useless.
This is followed by 2 posts from our friend.
They have me in custody and are holding a weapon to my head. So it's time to come forward and tell you all in plain terms what I know and why I have played this, now rather pointless, head game thus far. I am the one the PTC calls the friend. I serve Father Paranoia, and I've been trying to help. My aid has been behind the scenes, and it is becoming irrelevant very quickly. I've been working to mitigate the Slender Man's work, but that has been rendered pointless thus far. The PTC's been a danger to it. Everything that has been going on for the last year has slowed it down, but no matter how much they've been struggling, or whatever damage to the Slender Man's agents they've been inflicting, the Slender Man itself is untouchable. The cancer can be treated, resisted, and endured, but not cured. The PTC have been killing what you call proxies. That much is true. It has hindered the Slender Man's efforts for a time. They have been interfering in that which is truly and honestly beyond them, and the Slender Man has foreseen their actions as being a long-term annoyance, if not a danger, to the point of warranting the creature's personal attention. This is why the Slender Man has been acting against them in turn. The PTC has been treating this as a war, and rightfully so. This does not change the fact that it is a war they cannot win. Now, I am certain that this begs the question of why I'm telling you this, and how I know it. I'll tell you. This will require a bit of an explanation. There is reason by my master to believe that there are 20 paths mankind can take. Mankind nears a pivotal point in its history. This pivotal point comes approximately 1 year from now. You know it as the upcoming, infamous 2012 event. From there, numerous paths will open. More than one path is guaranteed to lead to the non-existence of all that has ever come to be. This Slender Man's activities are pushing mankind onto one such path, and that is why I've been trying to assist the PTC in their endeavors without being noticed. I have failed. My master's struggle is beyond the scope of what you are all facing, but this Slender Man has motives, methods, and a purpose that my master cannot discern. Its influence is harming my master's efforts, and yet it is not inherently opposed to us. The Slender Man simply is, and my master is intrigued by this. My usefulness to the PTC has come to an end. Aside from one last thing I can do, I know where Spectre is, but the PTC isn't bound to be happy when they find him. I've given them Spectre's location and requested to go on my way. I am done here. They are discussing it in private. Hopefully, they will be able to turn their little war around. I doubt they will, but they've been full of surprises in the past, haven't they?
Final post of the day is from B2, and from what he says in the post, the situation is dire and the team feels hopeless.
Why I think we've been duped this whole time. We're starting to suspect Spectre may be indoctrinated. Might have been for a while. We're not sure, and I honestly hope not. But looking back, there's a lot of things we've noticed that have pointed to this. He was moved from his bed back in April. That's usually a sign of some kind of influence from the Slender Man. This is topped off by numerous orders given by Spectre that saw little to no positive outcome, dating back to just after Nightcrawler was removed from the chain of command, and even before that. I was just chalking it all up to a run of really bad luck and little information to work with, but it's entirely possible Spectre was setting us up the whole time, getting us picked off one by one, and sending us on wild goose chases to make sure we never accomplished anything that actually related to our mission. The financial record discrepancies from the patch siphoning money out of our accounts would have been spotted by Spectre, and I doubt he'd have let it continue if he knew what was going on. Either he didn't suspect the patch, but still knew something was up and was running his own investigation without letting anyone know, or he was helping it along. One of the bank accounts that the patch was siphoning money into belongs to Spectre. If Spectre's been indoctrinated this entire time, then there's no telling just how bad things really are for us here. How better to keep a hostile organization from ever doing anything to harm you than to have an inside man in a command position giving orders that make it seem like they're accomplishing their goals when they're really not. I'm on the fence here, but the friend's given us Spectre's location. We need to find Spectre and set things straight, one way or the other. From there, it's back to business as usual.
B2 tells us he's having restless nights with Slendy poking around their hideout on the 9th, and then things go radio silent until Goggles posts on the 17th. Therein, he informs us that B2 and co have taken our friend to the location he spoke about. The result of this mission is given to us 2 days later.
That was our fatality rate on this last outing. The bastards were waiting for us, and they had weapons. They're getting smarter. Spectre was dragged off. I could see him being taken to a van during the shootout. We'll have a transcript for you sometime later tonight or tomorrow. Tomorrow's more likely. As for everyone here back at our nice little hidey hole, let's just say things were thankfully not so bad. Nobody is hurt, but everyone's scared out of their wits. The nerds get chills when we talk about face-to-lack-of-face encounters with Twiggy, but they hold up worse than we do under that degree of pressure. Commencing with funerals. Then we take another crack at it. We've had people tracking the van.
B2 tells us that records are disappearing September 21st, and Spectre appears on the 23rd to give B2 a warning.
Look, what we're dealing with is something I'm not convinced we can handle. I was convinced we could handle it, but we can't. Over a year of work, and less to show for it than almost anyone else fighting this thing who's lasted this long. I'm being held captive. You know where I am, and I'm telling you that they know you're coming. Don't try to give pursuit. Write me off, disband the SMD, and move on. We can't fight this anymore.
The very last post comes from B2 on October 4th, and it is as follows.
Primary objective, failed. Secondary objective, failed. Tertiary objectives, failed. Mission status, failed. Survivor count, 1. Spectre was right. Kind of funny in retrospect. For those curious, I'm not going to bother with an entire transcript or report. We found Spectre. We fought our way to him, getting killed off all the way. There were a lot of indoctrinated between us and him. We killed them, silenced a few witnesses. Nothing out of the ordinary. When we reached Spectre, he was tied to a chair like you see in a lot of movies. We cut the ropes. Next thing we know, one of us is shot in the back of the head with a gun he was hiding on him. He didn't survive the next few seconds, and then we had to fight our way back out. Almost as many of my men got killed on the way out as the ones that died getting in. When we got back to the safe house, those of us who were still alive ran into Twiggy. The damn thing had gotten in and just killed everyone. Organs are all over the place. Lab equipment was in pieces. They tried to break out the hammer of Thor to deal with it, and from the looks of the security cameras, it didn't work. This entire mess with Spectre makes me wonder how long he was indoctrinated. I think that Twiggy had him under his sway for a while. Rigged the situation up so that we get strung along for as long as possible with no gains before just taking us down. The patch was corrupted by Twiggy. I'd bet money on it. Spectre was probably using it to covertly siphon money out of our accounts to hire mercenaries to attack us and keep us off balance as we worked. That attack on our hideout back when we got the patch online only happened because the patch was brought online, and then it started feeding us false data just to mess with us even more. We got played like a fecking fiddle the entire time. We can't fight something that can outsmart us like this. Central Command, I'm requesting pickup and immediate reassignment. You know where to find me. I'm done.
Most of the comments here are either begging B2 not to give up, with others chastising him for quitting. And that is the end of the Observe and Terminate blog. That was a wild ride at best, and an extremely ill-conceived story at worst. I could barely follow what was happening, and there was so many plot twists that didn't go anywhere. I thought this was a discarded M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong script. I liked that they gave us military reports in the blog, and it was definitely a different take than other Slendy stories so far, but outside of that, I didn't understand a damn thing that was going on. Par for the course with most Slenderverse stories, I guess. With that, I thank you for going on this little journey with me and bid you farewell for now. Sweet nightmares. I just wanted to take the time to thank my Patreons and channel members. Your support is so appreciated. If you are not a channel member or Patreon and you would like to become one, there's a link in the description below. All channel members and Patreons receive 24 hours early access to all content posted on both of my channels. And all Patreons or channel members of the $10 Hellhound tier can request one horror-related video or stream topic, or one horror-related game that I play on my live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel and the content that I make.